I am. You know?
Okay.
At the end of the day, I'm not even going to leave the Real News audience
go
with
get your
even...
chair, buddy.
Okay, you talk for 2 seconds.
Okay, all right. How is everybody, Knoxville? Hey. What's going on? Welcome to Real News. Yeah.
Best radio program
That was intense.
in the entire state.
That was intense.
I was on the edge of my seat.
I know.
I don't know what y'all are doing.
Everybody else were.
Hey, did you have a good weekend, Russ?
Whoa. I was literally in my yard for my whole weekend. I was so excited. It was awesome. I had like man hands today. They hurt really bad.
Interesting. Man hands.
I was literally, I was pressure washing my house. And I pressure washed my driveway.
Oh.
And like a whole bunch of things around my house. And that was really fun.
Nice.
It's like my new hobby. I love it.
All
It's
right.
so much fun. Shout out to Ray for letting me borrow his pressure washer because he's the best person in the whole wide world. And yeah, it was fun.
Did he know you were borrowing his pressure washer?
Yes, I didn't go to his house and steal it or anything. Like he brought it to me.
You and Ray have that kind of relationship.
No, definitely not. I did not steal it from him. But it was fun. I like it. This is like my new kind of hobby, and I don't get in trouble with it. I can just be in my yard and sip margaritas while I'm doing yard work. Well, I don't get in trouble.
Pressure washing in particular is one of those things. It
is so much fun.
It is, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's sort of that sense that plays on immediate gratification for a lot of people.
You have soft girl hands, so you wouldn't know anything about getting out in the yard and actually doing yard work.
What are you talking about?
So, yeah.
But
no man hands over there.
It is. I really enjoy vacuuming actually for a sense of like
I do too.
That immediate gratification of things clean or gone to clean or whatever.
Right. My friends were like, "That's so weird. Why would you do that?" I was like, "It's for the end result.
Yeah.
I want to get to that end result."
Yeah, exactly. Hey, here's some stuff we're going to go over today, being that this is real news. There's a couple of local stories I want to get to. Let's see here. One in particular is we have an issue going on with, I suppose, some individuals blaming other individuals for the homeless situation right now. Let's see. Here's the Knox News headline. Knoxville Vestal community sees homeless uptick, blames city of Knoxville for increased homeless activity. So we're going to get to some of that. I also really have to get through some of the stuff that we didn't touch on last week. I think one of the best stories that's coming in quite some time is the 5 best moments, the 5 best takeaways from Twitter execs squirming over the questions on Joe Rogan Experience from Joe Rogan and Tim Pool. Also another story we have to get to. Maryland House delegates just approved legalizing medically assisted suicide. And it was a very interesting story to see how some of these legislators were coming down and handling on that. And it was also interesting to see some of these legislators that, dare I say, those that how do I say this without being offensive? I can't, so let's just be offensive. Those that have no problem at all with, say, late-term abortions now all of a sudden are literally in tears over assisted suicide. Not exactly sure I understand the logical disconnect there. The cognitive dissonance that they're dealing with is very, very real. And not to say that I don't deal with it my own, but let's see here. Those are something I'm going to get to in a second. We also have Trump's threatening Saturday Night Live with a federal investigation, which I just think is funny. I'll fill y'all in on that in a second. Beto O'Rourke has now announced that he's running for president, along with literally every other Democrat in the entire country. I mean, name a Democrat. Think to yourself right now, one Democrat off the top of your head. He or she doesn't even have to be alive, frankly speaking. Just name a Democrat, and I guarantee you that Democrat is running for president. I think Kirsten Gillibrand just announced. Joe Biden, I'm pretty sure. I don't know, man. I can't even keep up with him anymore. But just, Beto O'Rourke now. I found a headline too. What was it? I don't have it in front of me. Something to the effect of Beto O'Rourke is the poor man's Barack Obama. Which, it's a little bit true. It's a little bit true. If y'all want to, I'm not sure if I want to, but if y'all want to, I'll give updates on the New Zealand shooting that happened. And this guy, I told y'all before, don't anybody go watch that video. But if you did, for some particular reason, maybe you just have sort of a, fascination with the deranged or some sense of wanting to discover the evil so you know what you're fighting against type thing, you'll know where I'm coming from. This guy, I don't even have words for what this guy is. I seriously don't. Subhuman, I think, would actually be doing him some type of service that he's not worthy of. I really don't know a category or a terminology that stings enough to know what this guy is. And that's after watching what he actually did. So, and I say that because listen to this headline right here. I told y'all this was going to be a problem with the New Zealand thing. I told y'all. 1.5, this is from France24.com. 1.5 million videos, not views. 1.5 million videos of the Christchurch mosque attack in New Zealand were removed by Facebook. 1.5 million videos, not views, not individual views. I mean, what if 2 people watched every single one of those videos? 2 people per video. What, we got 3 million views now? And it wasn't just 2 people watching these videos. Hey, man, it is what it is. Joe Biden's making a 2020 run. Here's a headline I think Roz will love that we may or may not get to. This is coming from theamericanmirror.com, so take this with an absolute grain of salt. But Barack Obama's brother, oh my goodness. Do you know who Malik Obama is, Roz?
No.
It's a guy that claims to be Barack Obama's brother. I'm pretty sure he still lives in Africa.
I'm actually Obama's sister.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
No, I am.
Are you?
Yeah.
He said Malik Obama sent out this tweet over the weekend. It was on, I think it was over the weekend. The 14th was Thursday. Sorry, he sent this out on Thursday, 2:48 p.m. 3 words. Is Michelle Michael? Question mark?
Yes, I saw that. I was dying when I saw that. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's ridiculous, right?
But is it?
Well, I don't know.
No. Like, look.
I'm just,
Look at it.
Even if it's true, it's just Barack Obama's
That's a man, baby.
alleged brother now getting in on this.
That's a man. Okay. Come on. You don't have eyes if you don't see it. Like, I just don't get it. Like, how can you not?
Some people would agree with you on that, I'm pretty sure.
I hope most. I hope most do.
Anyway, if you don't know what we're talking about, obviously, ever since...
Joan Rivers said it herself.
That's what I was going to say. Ever since Joan Rivers came out with that TMZ interview, I'm pretty sure it was on TMZ, and I'll replay this again. They asked her, hey, what do you think about the first African-American being in president? Do you ever think you'd see that in your lifetime? She said, actually, no, not so much, but I'm glad we have it. And they followed up by saying, do you think we'll ever see the first gay president? And she said, well, what do you mean? We already have the first gay president. They said, what do you mean, Joan Rivers? And she said, Michelle Obama is a man. Her real name is Michael, which is...
Right. She looked at them like, have you guys not gotten this yet?
Yeah. Now this is a topic better saved for Conspiracy Theory Thursday, as far as I'm concerned.
But not.
I'm just explaining this because if people
don't do that,
if people don't understand the context of where this rumor or conspiracy theory or whatever was started, it primarily, not all, but primarily was pushed off the top.
Follow it up with all the pregnancy photos in Google about her. Go and Google Michelle Obama pregnancy pictures. I promise you, she has like a food baby in there. There's no she has no pregnancy pictures.
A food baby? Oh, you mean just a little bump?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's what she looks like all the time.
Well,
and they try to make it look like it's something more than it is, and it's not.
Apparently, Malik Obama agrees with you. My personal take on this whole thing is I think it's a bit nonsensical, only because I think in today's day and age, it would actually garner President Obama, former President Obama, if you want to call him that, more PC political points if he did come out and say, yeah, I'm married to a transgender individual, so what about it? His entire base would elevate him even more. So to me, that's one more reason to speak towards it. Doesn't exactly it might have made sense at the time if you're into the conspiracy theory things to try and hide that she was the sex that she's not claiming to be or whatever else. Alex Jones had a big tip about this of measuring the finger length.
I don't think they wanted any obvious scandals.
Yeah, maybe not.
All of their scandals were kept quiet and under the rug, and this would be an obvious scandal, and I don't think they wanted that.
Well, let me ask, though, Roz, in politics, though, how do you find someone that...
Because that taints their name as well.
Well, but let me ask this. How do you find someone that doesn't have some kind of obvious or apparent or some kind of scandal that's difficult to look past? And I say that because I'm reading this headline now. Joe Biden almost announces that he's running for president. And as soon as he did, you all saw all of a sudden sort of seeing these memes resurface. They call him Creepy Uncle Joe.
Right.
They call him Creepy Uncle Joe. Have you seen him with, the kids and kissing these little kids on the mouth that he doesn't know, and these really awkward, super invasive back rubs with children? You haven't seen that?
Mm-mm.
Very, very strange stuff, man. Very strange stuff. And I'm not saying Joe Biden's a pedophile. It's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying he's that guy that ends up...
He's creep.
Yeah, he's kind of creepy, you know? I mean, not to say Trump isn't in a different vein with consensual sex with porn stars. So all I'm saying, though, is the reason why I put it up that way is if you put Joe Biden up on the stage with the President Trump, come on, man. You think Biden has any chance of winning that game? And what are you going to go after the creep angle with Trump? That's fine. We can do the same thing with Biden. Biden's going to try and play Trump's game, and he's going to lose really, really badly. Let me get into right now, as we hit this first break, what I actually wanted to talk about this morning. It's probably going to take up the rest of this first hour because there's about 3 or 4 articles that link off of it. Here's the headline from The Federalist. Democrats' extremist crackup makes Trump's governance hugely attractive to swing voters. Now, it's interesting here because this author, I'll tell you the guy's name after this break, this author tries to answer the question that Real News has been asking for the last couple of months, if not the last couple of years. That question being, how in the world did the left change so quickly? When did this happen? I mean, Democrats, at least in my lifetime, I'm 33 years old. Democrats in my lifetime were somewhat intolerable. No, that's not even, yeah, well, okay, somewhat intolerable, but you could at least have a conversation with them. I disagreed about some policy points, but there were major policies issues that we did agree on. And overall, I never had a creeping suspicion of socialism or communism being brought into this. Now, maybe I should have. Maybe it was my fault for not seeing that ahead of time. But over the last 5 years, in particular the last 5 years, there has been quite literally, wearing a red communist badge on your sleeve. Quite literally for some Antifa members. Where did that come from? Where did it happen so quickly? This author tries to answer, doesn't do a great job in my opinion, but gets us a little bit closer to moving that needle. 7:20 in the morning, be right back.
Hey, Facebook, hang on. Sorry, I'm texting my wife back real quick. Come on. Facebook. All right, Facebook. Sorry, that was super entertaining. I realize. um, uh, Stuff going on with the animals at the home. You know how it goes. That you shine can't be seen. Baby, I will do a kiss from a rose on a grave. Stranger. Is that like a rock remix?
It's a Seal or something? That's crazy.
It is.
All
I
right.
don't even know who that is.
That's Seal.
That's not Seal.
No. Oh, this band's not
Yeah,
Seal. No,
that's
but the
not
song
Seal.
is Seal. Yeah.
Right. I don't know who that band is.
Oh, it's called Seal Wannabes.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, that's exactly what they're called.
That's how they pitched it in the band meeting. What are we doing, guys? We're covering exclusively Seal songs. We're the Seal Wannabes.
So we were talking about the other day, how they went about Seinfeld and like introduced Seinfeld and said, hey, this is a show about nothing.
Yeah, you and me were talking about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they just got it.
Yeah, apparently Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David, I don't know. I don't know the exact context of the story. Some people that watch Seinfeld might know more than me, but the way I heard the story is that they were having a conversation at lunch one day or something and thought to themselves, hey, Jerry, your stand-up is probably the quintessential definition of observational humor. You see something happen in real life and you make a joke about it. Where they're like, hey, what's the deal with airplane food? You know,
Right.
that type of thing. And Larry David said, so your stand-up is basically about nothing. Let's just write an entire show about nothing. And apparently they went to ABC or NBC, who I think it was NBC,
Yeah.
whoever they was, and just pitched it to producers. Said, "Here's the idea: the show is about nothing." And they're like, "What?" Now, it obviously,
they're like billionaires or something.
oh yeah,
because
I
of
mean,
it.
it obviously developed into something far more complex than that. And these four characters, individual, were bordering on sociopathic the entire time, and just really had tendencies towards. I don't know. I think it was. Not, I don't know. I don't want to say it was comedic genius, but it was certainly one of the best scripted comedies of all time.
For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Yeah, and look, I mean, Jerry
you got
Seinfeld's
a
sitting pretty.
show about nothing.
Yeah. I read the other day that every member of the cast of Friends is still currently still making about $20 million a year just off residuals.
Wow.
So I can only imagine what those four or five people from Seinfeld are making. You know what I mean?
They don't have to do
They
anything.
don't have to do anything.
You
No.
don't see them on anything. You know, Joey is coming out with that new sitcom or whatever that nobody's going to watch anyway.
Yeah,
so.
and he tried to do that Top Gear show for a minute. That bombed.
Yeah.
I think the, what's her name? Elaine's character. I don't know who she's related to, someone
I
famous.
was talking Friends. Now you're back into
Oh, you're
Seinfeld.
talking Friends. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
None of them are really doing anything.
They're not doing anything.
No. Yeah, Jennifer Anderson did some stuff every now and then. Except
Yeah,
that movie, The
she
Breakup.
does once in a while.
That movie, The Breakup, I think was one of my least favorite movies of all
It
time.
was a really bad.
That was a
movie.
bad movie.
I was mad at Vince Vaughn for that being a bad movie. 'Cause,
Oh,
like,
really?
he's better than that.
See, and everyone's
It's better than that.
Great, it's real life. Yeah, exactly. I go to movies to suspend my disbelief. I don't go to movies to see something that happens in real life. That's why
Right.
I live real life.
Right.
I go to movies to see fantasy and see something that I want to end on a high note or on a super, super dark note. I mean, I don't know.
Wedding Crashers and then The Breakup.
Yeah,
Come
right.
on now.
Yeah. Yeah, what are you going to do?
That's a huge difference. He's just better than that. I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy about that one.
Hey, by the way, Crown Plaza call number, which Roz took down for me, like I need to memorize it now or something. It's 865-888-TALK, 865-888-8255. If you have an opinion on anything we're talking about today, give me a call on that number. We'll talk about it. I'm going to start a little bit national here, as I tend to do, and then we're going to move into some local stuff later on. And as I just read before the break here, here's the headline that I'm going to go over if you want to follow along. It's from the Federalist. Democrats' extremist crackup make Trump's governance hugely attractive to swing voters, which I think is true. Now, here's eventually where I'm going to get into this. Some people eventually will say also that regardless of how you feel about Trump, most conservatives would have to agree with the following. As a certain section of conservatives found out, to their chagrin maybe, one doesn't need a saint with impeccable personal character to defend religious and civil liberties, which is really all religious people care about. You don't necessarily have to, what they're saying is, you don't necessarily have to have a pastor to defend your religious liberties to actually have your religious liberties defended. Now, it's weird that I would start with the leftist going crazy progressive and somehow tie that into Trump actually protecting the religious liberties of the right, but you'll see how I'm tying this all together. I'm also going to connect this to one other thing the left needs to strongly consider and start seriously being aware of is what are they going to do without the Hispanic vote and without a sizable portion of the African-American vote? Here's a story from Politico saying that exact same thing. Hispanic voters are going to win Donald Trump the 2020 presidency. Moreover, we also have to connect this to the last one here. Look at how the rest of the world is handling these ideas when these leftist progressive ideas are pushed on them. I know everyone hates Trump for pulling out of the Paris Climate Accords, thereby causing the world to melt down in 12 years. But look at what France is happening with right now. They're in their 4th month now of just burning and rioting in the streets. Yes, the yellow vests, we're going to connect all this together. Let me start this story out in the last 60 seconds we have before this break. Again, this Federalist headline. In a baffling statement, House Speaker That's what we should call her. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi claimed that Congressman Omar didn't understand, quote, the full weight of her words and the cultural context of her tweets. Now, obviously, what she's referencing is the stories that we covered last week. Omar is again in hot water for some allegedly anti-Semitic comments. Man, come on. They were fairly anti-Semitic. They were. And I was talking to my father about this other weekend. It's one thing, and the libertarian inside me wants to say, okay, fine. Technically speaking, sort of a philosophical perspective, I would agree with Congressman Omar. You should not have to make some pledge of loyalty to another country to be a serving representative in this country. First and foremost, that's not what she did or was ever asked to do. Fine. Let's go with her absurd notion then. Let's go with her absurd principle and say you do have to make some pledge. If someone was asking you to make a pledge to Canada or UK, that wouldn't be the same thing as what's dealing with Israel because you wouldn't have a necessary alternative. Here's what I mean. If I say I don't want to make a pledge to Canada, that doesn't necessarily imply that I'm making a pledge to somebody else. Unfortunately, that is what happens with Israel. And I know it's tough to say, but some people take it in this country as if you're not making a pledge to stand with Israel and defend Israel, what you are thereby doing is making a pledge to Palestine. It's difficult to get around the Hamas connection there. Am I wrong? That's how a lot of people see this. And for Nancy Pelosi to come out and say that some of this stuff wasn't anti-Semitic because she doesn't understand the full weights of her words. She's been in this country for 40 years. I mean, she's lived here. She's 40 years old now. She lived here since she was a teenager. Not 40 years. She's lived here well long enough to understand the history of anti-Semitism. 7:30 in the morning. Hit this first news break. Be right back.
All right, let's set up all this stuff. Facebook. Hey, I'm going to leave out with this news for a second.
Incorporated.
Good morning. I'm Marshall Stewart filling in for Tanya Stout-Brown with a local news update on Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760. A big weekend of bass fishing in Knoxville turned out with Knoxville native Ott Defoe winning the 2019 Bassmaster Classic on Sunday evening. Over the course of the 3-day tournament, he caught 15 bass with a combined weight of 49 pounds and 3 ounces. Over the weekend, 52 of the world's best anglers had been in East Tennessee taking part in what's called the Super Bowl of bass fishing. The Bassmaster Classic has been around for 49 years. This is the first time that the event was held in Knoxville. Knoxville's Change Center was given a $10,000 donation by the Xavion Dobson Memorial Foundation yesterday afternoon. The Change Center was first conceived following the death of Xavion Dobson in 2016. It works to help at-risk youth come off the streets. The partnership facility provides a location for constructive activities, including skating, a working DJ booth, job training opportunities, and more. Xavion's mom, Zenobia, was there along with other community members presenting the check during the 4th annual Skate for Zayday event at the Change Center. And finally, it was a big day for the Tennessee Volunteers yesterday. After losing by 20 points to the Auburn Tigers in the SEC championship game, the Volunteers came out with a number 2 seed for the 3rd time in its history in the NCAA basketball tournament. The Vols make the trip up I-75 to Columbus, Ohio to take on number 15 seed Colgate in the first round of the NCAA basketball tournament. And that's what's going on this morning. I'm Marshall Stewart, filling in for Tanya Stout-Brown on Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760. Knoxville's talk you can trust.
This is Steve Vaskart of Wealth and Retirement Strategies. I help baby boomers create a dependable retirement plan. My mission statement is to teach you the wisdom of how money works for better stewardship, to potentially have more, to give more, and to leave more. If becoming a better steward of your wealth is important to you, and you need a dependable retirement plan as well, call for my video that explains all the ways I will help you. Please call 691-1211. That's 691-1211.
This Fox Business Report is brought to you by Sandler Sales Training.
From From the Fox Business Network, overseas, a lot of buying in Asia with the big winner, the Shanghai Composite in China. This as investors wait for word of signs of progress in trade negotiations between the U.S. and China. The meeting between President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping pushed off till June, according to the South China Morning Post. European markets mixed. So are futures on Wall Street, the Dow weighed down by Boeing. The Wall Street Journal reporting the FAA's approval of Boeing's 737 MAX is being investigated by the Transportation Department Inspector General. A deal just announced is one of the biggest transactions ever in the payment sector. Fidelity National Information Services saying it's agreed to acquire WorldPay for about $35 billion in cash and stock. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Lillian Wu.
Are you putting your retirement savings in a 401k, IRA, or investment account? Then I have one word of advice. Stop. Experts warn of a stock market crash any day now, and you could lose 50% or more of your hard-earned savings again. But you don't have to lose a penny. There's a better, safer way to save for retirement, and you can learn about it in a free report. This method continues to grow your money even when the market tumbles. To get this free report, go to bankonyourself.com. That's bankonyourself.com. Bankonyourself.com.
No demos or proposals without a commitment. Hi, this is Steve Herzog with Sandler Training at www.firstinsales.com. That's FIRSTINSALES.Sandler, SANDLER.com. Because most training is product knowledge, most salespeople are anxious to do demos or give proposals. Salespeople feel very comfortable about talking about their products and services because that's what they know most about. Have you ever walked away from a demo or proposal meeting feeling the prospect wasn't ever going to buy, or all the effort that you just gave was a waste of time? If you don't have a commitment from the customer of either yes, we will continue to do business, or no, you won't be getting the business, then why do the demo or proposal? No demos or proposals without a commitment. This is Steve Herzog with Sandler Training at www.firstinsales.sandler.com.
One of the things I've noticed about Fox Toyota is the fact that a lot of people have the same testimony as I do. Hello, everyone. My name is Bob Bell. I work here at Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760. And for the past 20 years, I've purchased as many as 5 different Toyotas from Fox Toyota. Whether it's a brand new Tacoma or a Camry or perhaps a pre-owned vehicle that's certified Toyota pre-owned, it's Fox Toyota in Clinton. See them today, exit 122 off I-75 North in beautiful Clinton, Tennessee.
Here's Dave Ramsey with today's Ramsey Reality Check.
I am convinced, and I have been for 30 years, almost 30 years I've been on the air here, that anyone can do this stuff. The biggest blocker for you winning with money is you. Is it hard? Sure. If it was easy, we wouldn't respect people who win. The processes and the things you do to become wealthy over time are intentional acts. Weekday afternoons, live at 2 on Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760.
Weather from the FMT Insurance Studios of Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760.
Hope you enjoyed your weekend, everybody. We got a nice day on tap again today. A little on the cool side, highs in the mid-50s under mostly sunny sky. Tonight we drop near the freezing mark. Tomorrow we're in the mid-50s as well and could see the upper 50s middle part of the week. About the only chance for rain this week's toward the middle of the week, and that doesn't look all that great. Could see 60 degrees or so by the weekend. Check out Savage Seas, new at Ripley's Aquarium of the Smokies. It's adventure, it's myth, it's ruin. Savage Seas. From the 6th Storm Team, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Hinkin for the East Tennessee Weather Network.
It's 34 at Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760.
Eric, that's funny, man. Yeah, that's exactly what I was doing. I gotta get my studio feeling right, you know what I mean? Gotta get the proper headspace. Uh-oh, not everything's in the shot. That's gonna be a problem. That's gonna be a problem. Hang on, here we go. Check this out. Boop. Yeah, I think we're in business now. Wait, just a scotch. Scotching. All right, I think that's good. Sweet. What's it look like now? Oh, that's pretty good studio space right there. A pretty good studio space right there. All right, let's do a news program. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Seven. What? Hey, turn the mic on. Yes,
It's not much better than old school mid to late 90s, possibly into the creeping into the early 2000s R&B, you know what I mean? Not much better than that. Actually, there's quite a bit better than that. I just love it. It's a nostalgia
You said
thing.
he's not good?
No, I said there's not much better than some old school,
Oh,
you know.
right, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's,
90s R&B.
90s, a little bit into the early 2000s, then we kind of lost our way a little bit.
Yeah.
We got it back a little bit now, though. I think, some folks are bringing it back. No, you don't like
so much.
like a John Legend. He's doing his thing a little bit. No.
Nope.
What about like a Robin Thicke?
He's
I'm just
like
messing. I'm messing with
He's
Robin
like a
Thicke, by the way.
black Michael Bublé.
Okay.
He really is.
I can see
like,
that.
That's really what I think about John Legend.
He's like a crooner or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you sound kind of the same. You just got different skin color.
Without the R. Kelly nonsense. What about if R. Kelly didn't have his nonsense going on? R. Kelly would have done something with that, right? He had some big hits.
No.
No,
But
well.
his focus is elsewhere.
His focus. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. All right, let's get back to the real news stuff, by the way. Facebook, if you want to interact with our comments there, or if you want me to interact with the comments there, just go to Facebook, type in Real News Radio. We also now have a YouTube channel that's up and running. I've been putting some videos up there. I just got a situation where I can start editing the videos down. And what I plan to do with the YouTube channel here is what I had planned to do with this show from the first day that we started stuff. There was just... That's way too complex to go into now as to why I didn't. And what most of the people that follow on YouTube, most people that follow the show have told me since day one, Mr. Henry, why are you not doing this? That being, cut up these little 2 to 5 to 10 minute, they call them vignettes in the industry. It's just real quick, digestible things that happen throughout the show. If there's a segment that I thought, I really went off on that segment, that was good stuff. Just cut that part out, put it in video format. You can go watch 5 minutes of my face and get some commentary and some stuff. So I'm going to be doing that. We also have an Instagram account now. I just got, bored or I don't know what I got over the weekend, but Mr. Henry, that's right, the guy that stays away from social media, I started the Instagram account.
You did it?
Yeah, I did.
No.
I did, I promise you, yeah. That's why the 3 posts are... My wife had to teach me what a hashtag was, by the way. That's how much I've been out of social media.
Man.
The first 2 things I just posted without anything, and then the third one I posted is like, man, I got something to say in this whole thing. It's just really weird. So I typed this whole diatribe out or whatever, and my opinion on the post that I put up there. And she's like...
You hashtagged?
No, but she asked me, she came across, she's like, why didn't you hashtag any of this? And I said, I don't know what you mean. What is this? What is this hashtag you speak of, woman? So she told me what a hashtag was, which is stupid. But anyways.
Oh, it's stupid.
But the concept is awesome. So
but you have to do it if you're on Instagram.
Well, yeah,
you
but
have to hashtag.
She showed me too. It's like, if you put this one hashtag, the whole thing was about bipartisanship,
They're actually
right?
going to shut down your account if you don't hashtag.
Oh, really?
No.
She said if you hashtag bipartisan, you're going to open yourselves up to 16,000 other people that are also using that hashtag. I was like, oh, that makes sense, wife. That's why I married you, because you're awesome.
Exactly.
She's way smarter than I am. So we got an Instagram thing going now, all that stuff. But the reason why it all matters is because we do real news commentary. Here's the commentary I'm getting on this morning. I just started before. Federalist headline, Democrats' extremist crackup makes Trump's governor hugely attractive to swing voters. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to try and explain the question that I've been asking for months, if not years now, as to how did the left become so progressive so quickly? And so sort of extreme progressive so quickly. Now, I know, I'm trying to be fair on this show. I would presume that some of the progressives might say the exact same thing about us with Trump and the Tea Party movement that happened before this and everything else now. But that's something I'm going to clarify as well. The extreme version of moving to a Democrat to a socialist is far more extreme than you could ever make a conversation of moving to a genuine general conservative to whatever version of Trump populist is. Because Trump's policies are still very, very, very much in line with your normal version of conservatism. Now, with that being said, In a baffling statement, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi claimed that Congresswoman Omar, rather, doesn't understand the full weight of her words and cultural context of her tweets when it comes to these sort of seemingly or allegedly anti-Semitic remarks that she made. Now, Congresswoman Omar is 40 years old and has lived in the United States since she was a teenager, so explain that away to me. The left in the United States, just like in the United Kingdom, is imploding under the weight of its contradictions, and the manifestations are ugly. Now, this author lives in UK, so a lot of his analogies are drawn to sort of British politics, so you're going to have to bear with that a little bit. So again, this article attempts to answer the question Real News has been asking for 7 months, if not 7 years now. What led to the sudden difference and the seemingly inexplicable rapid change in the left? There's an old joke in communist-ruled Kolkata. You put 10 marks in the room within an hour. There will be 11 denominations and blocks, and one would be outside, standing, calling the police because of a murder that just took place in the room. Now, sectarianism and factionalism is an old, ever-present leftist curse. Again, if you want to follow along, we're talking from thefederalist.com right here. Headline being Democrats' extremist crackup makes Trump's governance hugely attractive to swing voters. The reason that these sectarianism and factionalism is an ever-present curse, the reason is in the worldview. It's fairly simple. And this breakdown I tend to agree with. Unlike conservatism, for example, which is more based on laws of nature, social hierarchy, prudence, personal responsibility, and restraint, progressivism is by definition an ideology that doesn't favor any status quo. That part I don't necessarily agree with, and this is where I need some help with the Real News audience. Either on Facebook, or if you want to give me a call, Crown Plaza call number 865-888-TALK, 865-888-8255. This is a little bit political. I think it has much more to do with sort of a philosophical understanding of what your politics are. Now, when this author said that unlike conservatism, for example, which is based in laws of nature, I think most conservatives would agree with that unless we start talking. I'm trying to be really objective and pick this article apart here. Some conservatives would say I'm a climate change denier. Some conservatives would say I think the Earth is 6,000 years old. I don't believe in evolution. It's not exactly based in laws, but what they're talking about, the laws of nature, are sort of these objective principles. I use that word too often. These overarching principles, these principles that we all seemingly understand, that murder is bad, okay? It's sort of a general revelation that you don't need to understand the special revelation of Jesus Christ to understand that there's a commonality, a link between all of humanity that makes us who we are, that makes us a little bit better than animals, that causes me to have an instantaneous sense of respect for Roz, even if I've never met her, because she's another human being, goodness gracious. You know what I'm saying? Social hierarchy. Conservatives certainly understand that. And the American dream understands it. The American dream understands that there are such things as social hierarchies. But the American dream gives you an opportunity to jump that caste system that you were born into. There is no such thing, or there should be no such thing, rather, as a caste system in America. Because on any given occasion, if you do what's right and you work hard enough, or if you just fall backwards and do it to dumb luck, you could become the next Mark Zuckerberg. Prudence, of course. Personal responsibility, I'm pretty sure we're the only party left with that. And restraint. In some areas. Now, here's where it gets a bit wonky for me. This author goes on to say, and again, keeping in mind what I'm trying to answer here is how this progressive leftist took over the Democrat Party so quickly. This author goes on to say that progressivism is by definition an ideology that doesn't favor any status quo. I don't think that's necessarily right. 865-888-TALK, 865-888-8255. That's the Crown Plaza call number. Wait. I dropped something important. That's the Crown Plaza call number, or Facebook. Just go to Real News Radio. Type in Real News Radio to your Facebook search bar there if you want to answer this question. Here's the reason why I don't think it's progressivism by definition is an ideology that doesn't favor any status quo. It seems like, just to me, progressivism does favor some kind of status quo. If for nothing more, that status quo being not valuing any status quo. Now, I know that sounds strange, but follow me for a second. You get what I'm saying? It might seem on the surface like progressivism doesn't value any status quo at all, but it is. They are valuing status quo by not valuing any status quo at all. That is the status quo they're valuing. Does that make sense? It might sound trite, but progressives that are truly sold out to the tenets of the religion must demonstrate allegiance through constant and continual virtue signaling. This has gone past mere groupthink or peer pressure. It's an outright coerced requirement. Thus, that requirement has become, for all intents and purposes, the status quo of the progressive movement and leftist ideology. You get what I'm saying? It might seem like by shirking off the normal status quo, but the fact that there is a requirement, if you're not doing it, there's a requirement to acknowledge that you are okay with someone else doing it on your behalf, or you're okay if you were ever called upon to do it. That virtue signaling, the requirement to virtue signal, has become their new status quo. 7:48 in the morning. Hit this last break. Be right back.
What did Roz just send me? Nature doesn't have murder. What do you mean nature doesn't have murder? You talking about like it's no one considers it murder for a lion to take down a gazelle? If that's what you're saying, then yeah, I totally understand. But what you're also saying, Ray, is that for murder to take place, some sense of true consciousness has to be injected. Let me ask this, Ray, then. Can murder take place with high intellect level apes? You know what I mean? Like those apes that can recognize themselves in a mirror, could they murder? They have a gradient scale of consciousness, you know what I mean? Yeah, what? Yeah. Jamming out of this uke over here. You hear me? You want to hear the song I wrote? I wrote it just for you. It goes like this. It's pretty good, right? Isn't it? What about this song? You recognize this song? Oh, I'm live? Oh, don't get sad. No, no. Hey, real news. I'm jamming on a uke here. Was that left? This is how we waste time during the breaks, you know what I mean?
What are we talking about here? That's right. Talking about trying to figure out how the left became so leftist. And I left off by saying this author said that progressivism is by definition an ideology that does not favor any status quo. I said I don't necessarily agree with that. Seems that they do favor the status quo, that status quo being they don't favor any status quo, which is in itself a sense of a status quo. It kind of goes back to the circular argument of, like, look, if you say that there's no such thing as objective truth, that very statement itself must be objectively true. That there is no such thing as objective truth. So you have to grant at least one objective truth for there to be no objective truth. You get what I'm saying? Now, again, it might sound trite, but progressives that are truly sold out to the tenets of the religion might demonstrate their allegiance through, must. Progressives that are truly sold out to the tenets of the religion must demonstrate their allegiance through constant and continual virtue signaling. This has gone past mere groupthink or even peer pressure. It's an outright coerced requirement. Thus, that requirement, for all intents and purposes, has become the status quo of the progressive movement and leftist ideology. This author goes on to say, like any other universalist idea, including liberalism, leftism has been forever a battle against nature. It's true, a little bit. I talked to my brother about this a while back and said, hey, look, a lot of liberals or Democrats or progressives or whatever we want to call it, let's say just scientific elites, have a problem with some Republicans or some conservatives being what they call climate change deniers. We're sort of refusing to look at the science as behind climate change. And then I kind of wanted to say, and I said this to me, and after I said this to my brother, he's like, yeah, that's a very fair point, actually. I said, yeah, but every ideology, every political worldview, every philosophy has some version of science that they just refuse to accept. Not saying it's right, but look at the left right now. Hold on. Which is an easier argument to get your head around? That there may or may not be conflicting science on climate change, or that there is no such thing as biological sex? Are you kidding me? Because that's apparently a realm of science right now that the left doesn't want to deal with. Apparently right now, they are teaching at college universities that there is no actual distinction between a biological male and a biological female. I'm talking through physiology, I'm talking through brain chemistry, I'm talking through chromosome count. There's no difference at all. Now, you want to talk about denying science. Come on, man. Anyways, this author goes on to say, there's always an arc of history that's inextricably linked towards a movement towards a bright egalitarian future. It's not cyclical. There is no gray area, and everything is either good and necessary or evil to be fought and vanquished. Naturally, and this is a very, very difficult sentence to get through, if you're on the left, because it's the same thing I've been saying for a very long time. It doesn't answer the question, it just tells you what's going to happen. Naturally, within that undemocratic ideological spectrum, coexistence eventually becomes impossible. Exactly. What have I always said? The philosophy is self-refuting. It will eventually devolve onto itself. However, I am afraid of what's going to be destroyed in the meantime. This author at least agrees with me on that much. Naturally, within the undemocratic ideological spectrum, coexistence eventually becomes impossible. After all, anyone who opposes any leftist view by definition anti-progress, and therefore an enemy to the cause who deserves to be eliminated. In short, splits are inevitable on the left, and that's by nature not a flaw. It's by nature. It is not a flaw. We'll end right here, come back with this author saying that he thinks this destruction of the left has actually been a very long time coming, which is something that sort of was an enlightenment to me because I thought it's just opened the last couple of years. 7:57, news, traffic, weather, all that. Be right back.
I'm Ginny Cosola with your...
What do we leave Facebook with today? What? Oh! That was my favorite thing in here. Why Seriously.
I told you I was getting rid of this stupid freaking sign. You don't have to explain that.
But it's my show in my studio.
Right, but it's a dumb sign.
I love that sign.
Oh, let you keep the ukulele and the horn, okay?
What?
The sign is dumb, buddy.
Well, I
I'm
guess
trying
it's
to help
dumb.
you, not hurt you.
Well.
All your browsing data, even if you're using incognito mode. Oh, Virtual Shield is the quickest and most user-friendly all the way up to an unlimited device enterprise plan. Link in the description.
So Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez went after the NRA after the shooting that happened in New Zealand.
This is a channel called TYT Nation, featuring Jeff here. The channel description reads, TYT Nation is home to Around the Nation with Jeff Politics, where Jeff Wardorf talks news, politics, elections, social and environmental issues, corruption, Republican craziness, and so much more from a strong progressive point of view. The channel zeroes in on corruption in the government and the Democratic and Republican establishment. Despite being part of TYT Network, we have no corporate backing and no allegiance to anything but the truth and honest progressive values. Yeah, I'm wondering what he means by part of the TYT network, because I've never seen him sitting next to Chunky Chunk, and this does not look like the Young Turks set. Look, he's got a think tank sticker. God, I miss that show. And that brain-dead thought Hannah Cranston.
I don't know.
I've got a feeling part of the TYT network means Chunk lets me use TYT in my channel name, as long as I don't disagree with him too often. Also, Jeff, your audio's out of sync with your video. Here, I've fixed it for you.
So Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez went after the NRA after the shooting that happened in New Zealand.
Oh, what a cunt. 49 people get murdered on the other side of the world, and the first thing she thinks is, how can I use this to push my political agenda? I mean, the bodies probably aren't even cold yet, and the NRA have got nothing to do with this, but I don't like the NRA.
That shooting, of course, left about 49 people dead. Now, her criticism on Twitter came from this. She said, at first I thought of saying, imagine being told your house of faith isn't safe anymore. But I couldn't say imagine. Charleston, Pittsburgh, Sutherland Springs. Those are all places, of course, where right-wing, white radical terrorists attacked people of color, attacked Muslims. Now, she said, what good are your thoughts and prayers when they don't even keep the pews safe?
A shitload of people just got murdered in a mosque, their place of prayer. So old Bug Eyes points out the worthlessness of prayer while using their deaths to push her political agenda. That's fucking classy.
She's, of course, referring to what the NRA says every time there's a mass shooting in America. Oh, we're sending thoughts and prayers. We're sending thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, it's kind of just a nice thing to say to someone who's grieving.
Well, thoughts and prayers don't do anything. Because we've been having thoughts and prayers for a long time, and we continue to have mass shootings at least every couple months? Probably more. Stuff that we don't even hear about because it's so commonplace down in America.
What the fuck has this got to do with America? It's just an expression people use to convey their sympathy to others when something bad's happened. Why would anyone have a problem with that?
Hey, thoughts and prayers work so well. Then why don't we use thoughts and prayers at the border?
Why don't you use thoughts and prayers for that massive boner we all know you've got for AOC?
I love AOC.
Thoughts and prayers, bro.
We all know it doesn't work. You know what actually does work, though? In the case of mass shootings? Gun control measures. In fact, New Zealand is looking at doing more gun control measures. But Jeff, you might say, New Zealand has gun control. They've got stricter gun control than we do.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. And if I did, it wouldn't be in that punsy voice.
Again, remember, no gun control is 100% effective.
Yeah, I don't really care about gun control. It's just not a topic that interests me that much.
Look, this is the first mass shooting in New Zealand since 1985. Literally over 30 years.
Yeah, but New Zealand's only got a population of 4.7 million people. I tell you what, if you think that's impressive, what about Antarctica? They've never had a single mass shooting. No cunt lives there, but not a single mass shooting.
Now back to AOC.
Oh, let me guess. She's 100% right on this. She can do no wrong, and she definitely did not handle this like a little bitch.
I love AOC.
So what about Trump? What are your thoughts on his reaction to this?
The president first tweeted this. He said, "My warmest sympathy and best wishes goes out to the people of New Zealand after the horrible massacre in the mosques. 49 innocent people have so senselessly died, with so many more seriously injured. The U.S. stands by New Zealand for anything we can do. God bless all. Best wishes, guys. Yay! What is this, a birthday party? Is this like or like a wedding? What's going on here? You don't say best wishes to people that are the victims of a mass shooting. Well, look, hey, you know what? We can ignore that, right? Because Trump's a moron.
Oh, yeah. Billionaire businessman, president of the United States, most powerful guy in the world, dumb as dog shit, as fucking thick as they come. I mean, you could do all that stuff if you wanted to, but then who would run TYT Nation?
And also, this thing did not mention the guy had far-right views, and also it didn't mention how this guy hated Muslims, or that he was a terrorist, right?
So you think that in his statement about the guy who just slaughtered a whole bunch of Muslims as they were praying in their mosque, you think that Trump should have mentioned that this fellow is a terrorist and hates Muslims? Okay.
And not only that, but he didn't rebuke that this guy was essentially a fan. No. None of that. That did not happen.
Elliot Rodger was a Young Turks fan. I don't recall any rebuke from old Chunky Chunk, nor would I expect one, because Chunk had nothing to do with Elliot Rodgers, just like Trumpy's got nothing to do with this maniac. To be honest...
No. None of that. That did not happen.
Elliot Rodger was a Young Turks fan. I don't recall any rebuke from old Chunky Chunk, nor would I expect one, because Chunk had nothing to do with Elliot Rodgers, just like Trumpy's got nothing to do with this maniac. To be honest, I thought Trump's statement was fine. Okay, best wishes might have been a clumsy choice of phrase, but it came across as well-meaning, sympathetic and supportive, unless you can see something in it that I can't.
A lot of white supremacists, I guess, talk in code. But just to like, they hide everything in the subtext, right? And so it's pretty insidious. So by not actually doing a strong denouncement, they're like, oh, good. That means Donald Trump is still on our side.
You are a fascinating bloke. We should hang out and talk about politics and shit. Email me, homie.
You are fake news.
We all know that the news ecosystem is broken. Echo chambers and fake...
You are fake news.
We all know that the news... Did you know you're...
CNN fake news. What do you think?
You are fake news. Sir, go ahead.
Let us return to the fight. This battle is far from over.
8:09 in the morning. Welcome back to Real News, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Henry. A bit of a slow weekend, so if you have a topic that's different than the one I'm talking about right now and you would prefer to bring that up, give me a call on this number right here, 865-888-TALK. That's 865-888-8255.
I do.
You do? What's that?
Yeah. Do I need to call on the number?
No, you got a direct line.
Oh. That article I just sent you.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know how controversial that was going to be to bring up. I was going to read through that one real quick.
We definitely need to bring that up.
Hang on here. She sent me an article saying Breitbart media silence surrounds Muslims massacre of Christians. I want to see how many. Dang it. Oh, all right, yeah. Okay, here we go. Political leaders and public figures were falling over themselves this weekend to condemn the mosque attacks in New Zealand while dozens of Christians were slaughtered by Muslims in Nigeria to the sound of crickets. The mosque attacks were indeed a horrific affair and worthy of universal condemnation. I'm glad they started out saying that way because this could quickly become a sort of whataboutism article. That meaning of, well, yeah, you think the attacks on Muslims are bad. What about the attacks from Muslims on Christians? And somebody needs to put forward that all attacks in general are bad, period. Obviously, I'm not sure why anybody needs to say that. Nevertheless, the article goes on to say presidents, prime ministers, royalty, and religious leaders rushed to extend their condolences to victims and their families, as well they should. While decrying the hate that purportedly motivated the shootings. Without exception, the mainstream media gave top billing to the shootings, with newspapers carrying the story on their front pages and television channels leading off their broadcast with the story. The bizarre aspect of this coverage was not, in fact, the attention paid to a heinous crime committed in New Zealand, but the absolute silence surrounding the simultaneous massacres of scores of Christians by Muslim militants in Africa. As Breitbart News alone apparently reported, I put the apparently in there, among major news outlets, jihadists racked up a death toll of over 120 Christians over the past 3 weeks in central Nigeria, employing machetes and gunfire to slaughter men, women, and children, burning down over 140 houses, destroying property, and spreading terror. New York Times did not place this story on their front page. In fact, they did not cover it at all. Apparently, when assessing all news that's fit to print, the massacre of African Christians, there are possible for the remarkable silence, and none of them is good. I suppose that's correct. Let me ask this though, and I don't know how to ask this question without being controversial, so I'm just going to throw it out there. How much of this coverage has to do with, frankly speaking, one of the attacks taking place in Africa and the other one taking place in New Zealand? Do you understand there? No? I'll put it this way. How much of this coverage has to do with it's not necessarily surprising. We become
that Muslims did it?
No, not that Muslims did it necessarily. I'm just saying the world in general has become somewhat numb to the violence that happens between segregated sects in Africa, whereas in New Zealand, this is a brand new thing. It's something that took people not just off guard, but we've never had something like this. This is the largest death toll in a mass shooting in New Zealand's history, forever, for as long as New Zealand's been around. I guess what I'm asking is, if this type of things, he just said 120 bodies of Christians over the last 3 weeks in Africa. The world in general has become numb to that story. This is the first time we heard about New Zealand. I'm not rationalizing in this. I'm not justifying or giving any reason for the one to be covered over the other. I'm just saying that's the story as to how terrible of a situation it is in Africa right now, when you could gloss over 120 Christians being killed in 3 weeks and 49 Muslims is all we're going to be talking about for the next month. Now, granted, both need to be talked about, and I understand what Breitbart's bringing up here, but I do feel like maybe not they're doing a disservice, but and not that they're being purposely misleading. It's just not at least acknowledging that that's one of the reasons why CNN is not covering it is, hey, man, unfortunately, there's been sectarian violence in African countries for decades upon decades upon decades. I don't know if you're going to solve that over the weekend. Whereas if in New Zealand, this was a very pointed situation with, I don't know, someone calling, let me know differently. 865-888-TALK, 865-888-8255. I have a couple clips pulled up that I wanted to play, eventually want to get to maybe in the 9 o'clock hour after I finish this first point here, because I think it all leads together with this first story of the whole idea of the left becoming extremely progressive.
I don't think that it's anything that is going to get solved over the weekend, like you said. Of course not. But it's just the silence of the story in general.
Yeah.
Even though, it has been going on, it's still going on.
No, I know. See, and Roz, I think the reason why I'm trying to couch this in terminology that seems fair to everybody involved is because I don't like the idea, and I know you have to get here. I do. I just don't like the idea of primarily being focused on the individual's religion. I just want them to be individuals. Do you get what I'm saying? I want the story just to be that 49, is it 50 now? 50 individuals were mercilessly slaughtered like animals in the street. I'm telling you, Roz, I watched this video, and some part of me regrets for doing so, but the guy is, I don't know, subhuman is a lower category. To call him an animal that crawls on his belly is a lower category. To say that there's a special place reserved for this dude in hell is too good for him. That's how terrible I think this guy is. And I want it to just be a humanity story. Unfortunately, I realize he specifically targeted Muslims for a very particular reason. And that is the story. But I don't know what to do with that. Any more than now.
Take the religion out. It is. It is a massacre of humans.
Well, but then you can't, though, because then everybody in the American in the political scene right now, Alexandra Cortez and her whole ilk now are seemingly blaming Donald Trump for this massacre happening in New Zealand.
Wow.
That somehow his rise of populism, what they're going to call white nationalism, what they really mean, by the way, y'all, when they say nationalism, they throw out they call them dog whistling terms. It's really predictive programming. So when they change the terminology from nationalism or white nationalism or whatever the terminology is now, eventually that's going to become synonymous with identitarianism. Mark my words.
God, white nationalists puke.
Exactly. You saw them play the same game when they did it with alt-right. That's how Shine and I landed this program to begin with. 3 years ago, before alt-right was even said by anybody. The first time that Hillary Clinton mentioned alt-right, Shine and I got together and made a podcast specifically mentioning, mark our words, watch out for it. They're going to commandeer the term alt-right, and it's going to become synonymous with all things Nazi, all things white supremacy, all things KKK. That's just a new version of what they're doing. Nationalism now, if it's not done so already, is going to become synonymous with identitarianism. Now, identitarianism, what I'm saying is essentially the new version of white pride. And what they're saying is, having pride in your race does not necessarily mean that you're excluding other races or that you don't have pride in other races or that you don't want them to succeed. It's just having pride in your race. Now, getting your head around that philosophical conundrum is one issue. Suffice it to say, everyone is going to see identitarianism as completely synonymous with straight white supremacy. Maybe I should pull these clips up right now. Hang on, give me 2 seconds. I'll try and find some of them. Because this pulls into, how much do you guys think that Trump is to blame for the shooting in New Zealand? I mean, I know my opinion, but I'd like to know the real news audience opinion. Go to, we'll get the real news. Somebody just typed in, James just typed in Talk Radio, travel the world, talk to people that live in their own land, and you will get the real news. Christians. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to follow that in a minute here, James. I'm gonna follow this up right now and see what James is talking about with this message we just got. Because, I mean, I have traveled the world. I've been to Africa. Did mission trips in Nicaragua, Honduras. I've been to the world's second largest slum. I've seen people live in literally plywood houses. I've seen kids play a soccer game, and I've played a soccer game with kids where there's literal, and I'm not making this up, I'm not exaggerating, the sewer system is just a trench dug in the middle of the street. I've seen kids chip a ball to pass to another player, chip a ball over a river of fecal matter. I played that game with them. I don't know. Is it healthy? I'm working this out on air because Roz just gave me this article, and I think it's interesting to go on right now. But I'm working this out on air. Is it healthy at this particular time? And I'm genuinely asking. This is not rhetorical. I'm not meaning in any sense to be snide or snarky at all. Is it healthy right now for us to do, and I don't know who us means. I don't know if that's conservatives. I don't know if that's just Breitbart. I don't know if that's Real News audience members. I don't know if it's the Democrats that are listening. Is it healthy right now in the wake of the massacre that took place in New Zealand, specifically against individuals of the Muslim faith, to then compare that to the numbers of massacres that take place against those with the Christian faith? I don't know. I'm genuinely asking. I am. I mean, maybe to dispel some of these myths of Islamophobia. I guess if that's what you're going for, I don't know if now is the most prudent time to do that. But I think if we're talking anti-Semitism, or if we're talking massacres against those of the Muslim faith in New Zealand, or 120 Christians being killed in Africa, the common denominator there is that there are deranged, sick people that want to kill someone over their metaphysical beliefs. And let's be honest, one of the other common denominators amongst all of these stories here, whether it be the Christians that were killed in Africa or what in New Zealand, they were praying to what they considered to be God, to make their communities better, to coalesce a society, to love their fellow man. Now, I'm not getting into a theological conversation right now, whether you believe Allah is the answer or not. That's not what I'm talking about, y'all. I don't care if they were having a flea market swap or something, man, and they were just having a chant with each other, playing songs. I don't care. The point is, a large portion of these people that were killed were in the midst of doing something with which the intent, I believe, was to help their fellow man. So I don't know. Maybe that'd be the question for the segment. We got 2 callers in the Corona Plaza call number right now. It's 8:20, so we're going to hit this first break. Charlotte's wanting to talk about Chelsea Clinton. Okay, yeah, that ties in. Not sure where Roberta's going to go on, but we'll get to her first after this break. And what, here's James. He texts back. No, sorry. He said, my point is that Christians are slaughtered regularly in some areas of the world. It's not that, it's not reported. Exactly, James, exactly. Yes, James is correct here. And that's what I think the component of the Breitbart story is. James texts back, say, travel the world, you get to understand the stories of what Christians, what James meant was, Christians are being slaughtered regularly in some areas of the world, and it's never reported. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, James. You're exactly right. And I think that's what does a disservice to some of these stories, is that it gets so heavily focused on when it happens in New Zealand. It happens every single day in some other parts of the country to Christians. And that's genuinely why I'm asking, is it healthy to compare this Christian-Muslim thing? I don't know. I'm asking. I haven't, if you haven't figured this out already, it takes me a little while, Mr. Henry, a little while to really work through all the minutiae involved in some of these serious questions. Oh, thanks, James. I appreciate you, too. He says, good show. Love it. Thanks for what you do. I appreciate you, James. James is dead on right, though. And that's what I'm saying. Here's the old analogy, okay? You take a frog, and if you were to throw a frog into, and I don't know if this is true, man. I've never tried to boil a frog alive. You know who has, possibly? Beto O'Rourke. Oh, my gosh. Total tangential conversation here. Did y'all hear about Beto O'Rourke when he was like 15 years old, writing that murder mystery, that murder fantasy stuff of running over kids with his car and weird stuff, man. Anyways, back to what I was saying before. Here's the analogy. They say if you take a frog and throw it into a pot of boiling water, it'll immediately jump out. If, however, you take a frog and you put it into tepid, lukewarm water and then gradually turn up the temperature, it'll stay in there until it dies. The analogy being, I'm pretty sure that's what's happened with the coverage of Christians being slaughtered across the world. It's become so commonplace, we just don't think about it anymore. But it grabs you. It's shocking when it happens in New Zealand. I'm not justifying one or the other. I'm just trying to get my head around, first and foremost, the reason why we don't cover these Christian slaughters in the same way we did. I don't think it was necessarily that we'll cover the Muslim slaughters, because every single time ISIS was out there killing dozens upon dozens of people, it didn't make headlines every single day. It didn't. It made headlines, I'm pretty sure, because it happened in New Zealand. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to work this out. Maybe we'll keep going on this depending on what the calls are. 8:22 in the morning. Hit this first break. Be right back.
We're going to be all over the place this morning. Roberta's talking about Ralph Nader again. Charlotte's going to get us back on. I don't know that one, man. I'm just now picking this thing up. I picked it up. I basically stole it from my sister on Saturday and been trying to teach myself since then. I do know this song. Don't tell my sister I stole it from her, though. She can beat me up. She can beat me up real bad. I think I'm going to go to Charlotte first. If I go to Roberta first, she's going to change the subject entirely, and then go to Charlotte, and we're going to go back to the subject we were originally talking about. You know what I'm saying? Cedric, you still in here, man? Yeah, I got the I got the MacBook over there. It's working though, I promise. $8:27 in the morning. Welcome back
to Real News, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, let me give a shout out real quick to my buddy Cedric. I don't like saying people's last names on air. I'm pretty sure he'd be okay if we said his last name, but because I don't know if he would be okay or not. I've been having this MacBook issue for, I think, about 3 or 4 months. My Apple MacBook.
Is he doing it?
He fixed it already. It's done.
What?
Yeah. I texted this guy. I meant to tell you that this morning. I texted this guy last night because Roz said, if you have an issue with MacBook, just see if Cedric can help you out. He's like one of those Mac genius people.
He's an Apple genius.
Yeah. So I texted him, or I didn't text him. I called him and told him the issue, and he's like, yeah, let me look at something. I'll send you some in just a minute. So I'm not exaggerating. 3 minutes later, he sends me this article that completely solves my problem. I've been trying to work on this for 3 or 4 months, and I consider myself fairly tech savvy, not social media savvy, but fairly tech savvy. I always stay up with the most recent products and availabilities, cell phones and tablets and computers and all that. I couldn't fix this issue. My boy Cedric, though, shout out to you, man. Within 3 minutes, he sent me an article that had my issue completely fixed here. Hey, with that being said, it's 8:28. Let me go to this is how I'm going to do it. Charlotte's talking about the situation we were just talking about. Roberta's going to be talking about how the Rats Reform Congress book. I'm going to go to Charlotte first so we can stay on topic so I don't jump all around topics here. Just to reintroduce you, what we were talking about at the beginning of the 8 o'clock hour, obviously, is a little bit of updates to the New Zealand massacre. And then Roz sent me this headline coming from Breitbart. Media silence surrounds Muslim massacre of Christians, talking about 120 Christians in the last 3 weeks have been killed in central Nigeria alone, just central Nigeria alone. 140 houses burned, destroying property and spreading terror. James had a good point, too, saying, look, the reason why it's not covered, this one, he was saying, but frankly speaking, some of this isn't covered, but it does happen every single day. Every single day this type of stuff happens. With that being said, let's go to Charlotte, talking about, there's been some headlines recently about some millennials blaming Chelsea Clinton for her rhetoric for Islamophobia. Charlotte, thanks for hanging on there. What's on your mind?
Hi there. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say is Donald has a cohort, obviously, because they're blaming both of them. Because she had put out her pleas for people to not, do the anti-Semitism, and she went to go pray with, people over this shooting and everything, and she got attacked, because of those comments. So I'm like, but I tell you, from the beginning of this, and maybe it's just because I'm old and listen to too many conspiracy theories, it is so scripted. It is like they had, tapes and everything ready to play, and the leader of New Zealand, somebody wrote everything for her word for word, and I'm going, is this shooter a Manchurian candidate? That's as scripted as it sounded, but anyway, I thought that was kind of fun that they're throwing Chelsea underneath the bus too on this.
Hey, let me ask this too. I'm reading through this article right now. Every time I see Chelsea Clinton's name, I immediately move on to whatever the next headline is. So I have this headline up here as part of my show note show prep notes today. But if I'm honest with you, I did not read through it. What in the world did she say that caused them to think that she was responsible for stoking Islamophobia somehow?
Oh, just the fact that she had put out a tweet or whatever just to tone down the anti-Semitism when the Congresswoman had been making those comments. But AOC, she was right out there again, what good are your prayers and everything? Prayers don't do anything.
Yeah,
blah, blah,
exactly.
blah.
No, I do have that tweet pulled up. What Charlotte's talking about here is AOC sent out a tweet saying every single time one of these massacre happens, it tends to happen in, not every single time, but she said lately there's been massacres happening that have been taking place at places of worship. She brought up obviously was it Pennsylvania, Philadelphia? I'm not sure. Wherever the shooting was with the Jewish synagogue, she brought up this one recently and said, hey, so what goods are your thoughts and prayers doing if they're killing people in their places of worship? And Charlotte, honestly, what point is she even trying to prove there? What is she saying with that tweet? What is the point that she's trying to get across? I don't get it.
Communism does not need religion.
Yeah, there you go.
Communism.
Yeah.
That's it. And that is a shameful thing to say in a time of mourning and just scaring people with what's happening in the world. So, but it like I said, this is too scripted, and I'm so glad that you brought up the killings in Africa, because people listening to Glenn Beck, they're spending millions and millions of dollars of trying to get people out and away from the Christians to other countries, not ours. Can't get them to ours like they can to other countries.
I hear you.
And so they're backing them down and killing them. And after, getting them to safety. So,
yeah.
Anyhow, I just wanted to put that in, and I asked Roz to play some, Big Dale, the super surfer guitar. He died
nice.
today.
Okay, all right, good deal. Yeah, that'd be good. Good idea to do that then in this day. I appreciate you bringing that up. Charlotte, thanks for calling as always.
Sorry.
Yeah, good. Only a few of them out there, right? Only a few of them that really did it well. And even those, they probably just flipped the right-handed guitar upside down because, that's how they do it. But, Charlotte, appreciate the call. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. There goes Charlotte. 8:33 in the morning. Hit this news break. Be back with some more coverage of some of the updates here. Alexander Cortez comments, all that. Be right back.
Weekend of bass fishing in Knoxville turned out with Knoxville native Ott Defoe winning the 2019 Bassmaster Classic on Sunday evening. Over the course of the 3-day tournament, he caught 15 bass with a combined weight of 49 pounds and 3 ounces. Over the weekend, 52 of the world's anglers in East Tennessee taking part. It's called the Super Bowl of bass fishing. The Bassmaster Classic has been around for 49 years. This is the first time that the event was held in Knoxville. Knoxville's Change Center was given a $10,000 donation by the Xavion Dobson Memorial Foundation yesterday afternoon. The Change Center was first conceived following the death of Xavion Dobson in 2016. It works to help at-risk youth come off the streets. The partnership facility provides a location for constructive activities, including skating, a working DJ booth, job training opportunities, and more. Xavion's mom, Zenobia, was there along with other community members presenting the check during the 4th annual Skate for Zayday event at the Change Center. And finally, it was a big day for the Tennessee Volunteers yesterday. After losing by 20 points to the Auburn Tigers in the SEC championship game, the Volunteers came out with a number 2 seed for the 3rd time in its history in the NCAA basketball tournament. 75 to Columbus, Ohio to take on number 15 seed Colgate in the first round of the NCAA basketball tournament. And that's what's going on this morning. I'm Marshall Stewart, filling in for Tanya Stout-Brown on Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760. Knoxville's talk you can trust.
From the Fox Business Network. Stock futures on Wall Street are mixed. Up arrows for the NASDAQ and S&P 500. The Dow in the red. Boeing shares are poised to open lower. Brexit turmoil has the British pound dropping. Disappointing earnings out from lumber liquidators, which reported a fourth quarter loss of $56.9 million. The Virginia-based hardwood floor company agreeing to pay a $33 million fine for making fraudulent statements to investors about unsafe flooring sourced from China. And no thumbs up for Facebook's attempt at local news service. The social media network saying a service it established last year to provide users with local news has been hampered by cutbacks in the news industry. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Lillian Wu.
Are you putting your retirement savings in a 401k, IRA, or investment account? I have one word of advice. Stop. Experts warn of a stock crash any day now, and you could lose 50% or more of your hard-earned savings again. But you don't have to lose a penny. There's a better, safer way to save for retirement, and you can learn about it in a free report. This method continues to grow your money even when the market tumbles. To get this free report, go to bankonyourself.com. That's bankonyourself.com. Bankonyourself.com.
This is Steve Vasgard of Wealth and Retirement Strategies. I help baby boomers create a dependable retirement plan. My mission statement is to teach you the wisdom of how money works for better stewardship, to potentially have more, to give more, and to leave more. If becoming a better steward of your wealth is important to you, and you need a dependable retirement plan as well, call for my video that explains all the ways I will help you. Please call 691-1211. That's 691-1211.
Did you know migraine is a disabling disease affecting over 36 million Americans? The pain of migraine sufferers is often so bad their lives stop. The American Migraine Foundation helps people living with migraine to find the support and treatment they need. Go to AmericanMigraineFoundation.org. Make your move against migraine.
The views and opinions heard on the programs which air on Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760 are those of the hosts and guests of those programs and not necessarily those of the station or management. Weather from the FMT Insurance Studios of Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760.
Hope you enjoyed your weekend, everybody. We got a nice day on tap again today. A little on the cool side, highs in the mid-50s under mostly sunny sky. Tonight we drop near the freezing mark. Tomorrow we're in the mid.
Thanks, Shine. You're my boy, Blue.
This week's toward the middle of the week, and that doesn't look all that great. Could see 60 degrees or so by the weekend. Check out Savage Seas, new at Ripley's Aquarium of the Smokies. It's adventure, it's myth, it's ruin. Savage Seas. From the 6th Storm Team, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt here at the East Tennessee Weather Network.
It's 35 at Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760.
Mr. Electric of Knoxville is hiring experienced electricians. Call 272-2749. That's 272-2749. Online at MrElectric.com.
Traffic from the FMT Insurance Studios of Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760.
Well, they're still working a wreck with injury to the south of Chapman Highway at Boyd's Creek and one with injury to the east, Rutledge Pike at All Road. I mentioned a wreck earlier at Asheville Highway, John Sevier. Those lanes have been reopened. If you're on the interstate coming around 640, look for work throughout the day up around 275, possibly around Western Avenue. Blunt Excavating has openings right now for heavy equipment operators. Great benefits, everybody. Apply online right now at bluntexcavating.com. Good morning. I'm Pete Michaels.
Water. You rely on it daily. But what do you really know about it? There is so much more to H than you realize. Did you know that tap water provides us with a low-cost way to stay hydrated, public health and fire protection, and nearly every product that we use every day? The more you know about your H2O, the more there is to love. To learn more, visit drinktap.org. This message is brought to you by the American Water Works Association and your local water provider.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. Primary care can help fix the problem. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
George Norrie, join me for Coast to Coast AM overnights at 1 a.m. on Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760, Knoxville's talk you can trust.
Live from the FMT Insurance Studios of Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760, this is Real News
With Mr. Henry and Nick Crawford.
Join the conversation on the Crown Plaza call-in line, 865-888-TALK.
8:41. Mario's having a bad trip right now, apparently.
It's actually Beethoven remix.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I recognize the Beethoven. Like Mario is, took some bad acid, man. I went down the wrong pipe. No.
I ate some bad mushrooms.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, dang it. I missed that very obvious joke, Ross. Thanks. Mushrooms would have been much better. Roz is on it, though. 8:41. Let's go right now. We're going to get Ray second, go to Roberta. If you just joined us, I'm kind of all over the place this morning. I initially started out morning talking about how I guess it's somewhat the left has become so insanely progressive in such a short amount of time. Sort of got into that, but didn't exactly explain where it was going. And then we're picking up the story now. Ross sent me this off air at the beginning of the 8 o'clock hour headline from Breitbart. Media silence surrounds Muslim massacre of Christians, saying everybody's focused on the New Zealand situation where 50 now, I believe, is the updated number. 50 individuals have been slaughtered in cold blood like animals. And this guy, to call him subhuman is doing him a service that he is not worthy of. He is something much worse than that. I don't know what portion of hell would be bad enough for this guy to go to, but that's where he deserved to go. Anyways, we brought up the story of why is everyone focusing now on the Muslim massacre in New Zealand, and nobody ever focuses on, what are we talking, 120 Christians reportedly in just central Nigeria alone over 3 weeks. Now, obviously, I'm saying the distinction there is central Nigeria and New Zealand. That's the distinction. The distinction is not Christian-Muslim. The distinction is central Nigeria, New Zealand. Do you understand what I'm saying? You do not expect something like that to happen in New Zealand. However callous and abrasive this statement sounds, you know that I'm right when I say it. We've come to the point of expecting something like this to happen in central Nigeria. It's true. It's just simply true. That's why there's such a disparity between the coverage of it. Now, I want to go through a little bit more of the story lays out one or two reasons why they think there's a difference in the coverage. I also pulled up that tweet that Charlotte was talking about from Alexander Cortez, the one that she's getting a bunch of backlash on. And it's really, really interesting to see people trying to defend Alexander Cortez in this statement. She goes on to tweet saying, "At first, I thought of saying, quote, imagine being told your house of faith isn't safe anymore. But I couldn't say imagine because of Charleston, Pittsburgh, Sutherland Springs. We all know what happened in Charleston. We all know what happened in Pittsburgh. We all know what happened in Sutherland Springs." She goes on and finishes, says, what good are your thoughts and prayers when they don't even keep when they don't even keep the pews safe? What good are your thoughts and prayers when they don't even keep the pews safe? And she goes on to make some jab at the NRA, like the NRA is somehow responsible for coining the thoughts and prayer statement. Now, popularizing may be an entirely different conversation, but coining it, I mean, come on. What good are your thoughts and prayers, she says, when they don't even keep the pews safe? And I asked Charlotte, what in the world was the purpose behind this? I mean, I could see it at sort of a surface level, the lowest hanging fruit of Alexander Cortez saying, we don't need to spend time, sort of just placating the other side by saying, well, thoughts and prayers, so we don't have a legitimate conversation about gun restriction. I mean, if that's what she's going for, then possibly. But it's just such an asinine statement to make. In the midst of all that, they were sitting there in the midst of their thoughts and prayers when they were gunned down. What are you talking about, Alexander Cortez? Like thoughts and prayers aren't going to do anything. You don't think the entire community of Muslims aren't praying right now? You don't think that they're not praying right now completely prostrate on the ground for those individuals that just lost? What do you not get about it, Alexander Cortez? How can you be so insanely offensive? How can you, Alexander, be so bigoted? In the wake of 50 people being slaughtered while they were praying, now you're saying that their prayers didn't mean a thing. Their sacrifice to their religion didn't mean a thing. You're the bigoted one here, AOC. Thoughts and prayers don't mean a thing. Well, that's what they were killed for. They were killed for their version of thoughts and prayers, AOC. Take a philosophy course or something, man. Take a world religion course or something. I don't know. Let's see if Roberta can calm it down. I'm going to switch topics a little bit here. Roberta, thanks for hanging on so long. Subheading here says How the Rats Reformed Congress book. I believe you're talking about the Nader book. Correct me if I'm wrong. What's on your mind, Roberta?
The Nader book does tie into this to some extent. But I think we have to keep coming back to the topic at hand. We do have to keep one facet in mind. The fact that they were praying has brought this out where we now, I hope everyone does, or that most will, see the Muslims as humans. We've had so much Muslim threat and so on and so forth. We've generated fear. Pardon me, I'm having a old lady lung problem here.
No problem. Take your time, Roberta.
But and of course, our family has many Muslim friends, but we have come to see the Muslims as hideous, and they're not. We have some radicals and so forth, but you can't lump them all together. And at least this has brought out an empathy, if nothing else, for these people that were gunned down in their prayers. But coming back now to this book, How the Rats Reformed Congress, and if you would accept it, I will give you 5 of those that you can give out to anybody who would like to have it.
Now, you mean five copies of the books, or is that what you mean? Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
I wrote Mr. Nader and told him that I had bought a supply of them and I can't buy any more, but thanked him and told him that I've got it out in libraries in Iowa and so forth. And they sent me a box out of the blue with more to give. So anyway, but with this, it sounds like just a silly, and when I heard that it was Ralph Nader, the first time I heard it, I did laugh. Because, I mean, what would he, This book is profound, and in it, he starts out with this lightweight story on the rats, how they reform Congress, but then he comes down to the nitty-gritty of how to write our members of Congress and our media, that we're not getting media coverage, but if we bombarded them and the publishers, letters to the editor and so forth at these various places, newspapers, they cover. But coming back to Congress, they may not care a fig about you or me or anybody else, but they care desperately and dearly about their own power and control. They don't want to lose it. And if they are bombarded, but in this, he gives an outline of how to couch the letter in a way that they have to answer. And if you put it in writing, they have to respond in writing. That you want a written response to this. And that you implied in that is, hey, he said, I'm going to hold you responsible. And next time it's time to vote, I'm not going to sit back and let you get by with anymore. We can change Congress, and we can do it without firing a bullet. But we also can change the media on giving us better coverage. I do understand that how they are structured and who supplies it, who controls them. But they are losing business. Their rates have gone down both on CNN. It's such a joke. If CNN was bombarded with letters, we care. They'll change.
Oh, yeah. And one more thing to add to that, Roberta, too. I mean, as far as changing the mainstream media, they're starting to see ways that collective voices have a power that's unlike any other, I think, in society, especially modern society. You look at what YouTube is doing right now. They are having mainstream media running for the hills. They don't know what to do. If you have access to the internet, Real News audience, go look up someone you probably never heard of this kid's name. His name's Philip DeFranco. He's 34 years old. He's getting about as many views as Tucker Carlson is getting every single night on his news program. All right. So what that means is YouTube could then go to advertisers and say, hey, you could advertise with Tucker Carlson, or for about a third of the cost, which is still an insanely expensive rate, you could come advertise with this kid who's making about as much views. Now, what is Fox News supposed to do with that? You know what I mean? And this guy's giving him free content every single day. YouTube's not paying that. YouTube's paying Philip DeFranco probably 5% of whatever ads are sold. Half of it gets demonetized anyways, but it proves your point too. The mainstream stuff is on the run because a lot more people are waking up to it. I'll give you the last 30 seconds here before we hit this break, Roberta.
Yeah, well, I said I'm not easily impressed, and I rarely care. I never care what somebody thinks about me or anything else. When I had this read to me, I thought, oh my, thank you, Father. This is what we've been wanting. But it is up to we, the people. We can lament all we want about the media and our Congress and so forth, unless we, the people, tell them we want we want a constitutional government. Period. And our Supreme Court, I don't care. I don't want a Democrat. I don't want a Republican on there. I want a constitutionalist. And we get that message across to our members of Congress. They'll do what we want, not because they care about us. They don't. But they care about themselves.
I was going to say, care about their power and care about staying in that power. Roberta, I always appreciate hearing from you, and we'll talk to you soon. Oh, and one more thing, too. Get those copies of those books to Roz, and we'll do some giveaways for him. I'm probably, just because the information is so good and I want people to know about them, I probably won't even make it like a quiz or anything. It's just first person call in and gets a copy of the book. So make sure you get those to Roz, and we'll get those handed out, Roberta.
If Roz will come by, I will be more than happy to give her a box.
Fantastic. We always love hearing from you. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
I love you, and I thank you.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye, Roberta. There goes Roberta, 8:52. Hit this break, come back with Ray's call. Very interesting topic. Going to be bringing up murder and natural science. You're going to want to stick around for this call. 8:53 now. Be right back.
John, it's I don't know what kind of uke it is. My sister picked it up. It's Huanjin. Huanjin. My sister picked it up in I think Mongolia or China, and I kind of just stole it from her on Saturday without telling her, so she's probably gonna be mad at me. And I'm trying to pick it up and figure out how to play it. Just trying to expand the mind a little bit. I still don't know how to do much on it though. Eddie. That was awful. Hey, let me ask the 6 of y'all that are in here right now. I think Sean might still be in here. In all sincerity, I know Sean and I joked about this some, but I'm actually being kind of serious about this now. In all sincerity, if Sean and I started a Twitch channel where we played World of Warcraft with each other while we were talking politics, would y'all actually go watch that? I think some people would, because it's a virtually untapped niche market. Everybody and their mother is playing video games and commenting on the video games while they're playing it. There's a lot of people that are doing live streaming of politics, but nobody in the world is playing a video game, a little bit of commentary in the video game, but about 80-90% talking politics while playing a video game. You know what I'm saying? It'd basically just be like a hangout session with me and Shine for 1 to 2 hours a week. The reason why I ask is I picked up a copy of WoW again, and I'm seriously thinking about making this new business venture of me and my buddy wowing out, talking politics. Maybe we can save these millennials from themselves, you know what I mean? This should just be like a hangout session with me and Shine for 1 to 2 hours a week. The reason why I ask is I picked up a copy of WoW again. Who's going to be the liberal character? And what would the liberal character be? Maybe that's what we should have a conversation about. Talk to Shine. Yeah, like what's it called? LARPing or LARPing? Live action role playing? Yeah. Someone be like, or whatever that thing. I'm totally committed to. I need to find like a purple skin character, that female purple skin character with a tail, who has problems with everybody in society looking at her tail or something. We'll figure out what the character would fit, and I'll play the liberal character to Shine's conservative character. He'll be that big green orc, just like Trump walking around as the Hulk. They keep throwing down their weapons. Yeah, that's right. I'm not playing. Only you, man. Don't put the blame on me. I'm only human after all. I mean, sort of. Hey, wait. No, stop. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to Ray right now real quick. Ray, buddy, as I'm bringing you on air here, it's 8:57, so we have like 60 seconds. What I'm probably going to have to do is get you to introduce this topic, and I think it might be interesting enough to carry you over till 9. So go ahead and let them know what you're talking about.
Yes, at the beginning of the show, we brought in the mass murderers, and we are applying murder to it. Murder is not an objective, measurable phenomenon. It's a rationale made by the human mind. Naturally, it's a killing, and killings happen. It's just a natural thing on this planet.
Now, let me ask you, just to clarify, you're saying that, and I'm trying to figure this out for myself too, which is why the concept itself, I think, is interesting enough to hold you through the breaking and pick it back up at the 9 o'clock if you can. I guess what you're saying is, nobody from PETA ever sheds a tear when a lion takes down a gazelle, right? I mean, nobody from Planned Parenthood is getting up in arms when, I don't know, a hippo takes down whatever hippos eat. Yeah. Or a crocodile's probably a better idea when a crocodile takes down something. Right? Do what? Yeah, they're right. And they're vegetarian. Yeah, but however, Planned Parenthood or PETA, or PETA probably wouldn't, but somebody somewhere would have a problem with a human being killing another human being.
That's a personal perspective that is not widely viewed by most people. The objectable measurement is somebody or something has died, and you have to break into that phenomenon and peel back the onion, so to speak, onto the causes of it, which in the human rationale, that disorder, that they can't concept society, so they act out this way, and it becomes very untested, so to speak, because we're now grouping all killings as a murder, or a murder is not a killing, it's self-defense.
And Ray, let me put you back on hold real quick, man. I want to pick this up after the break. Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right, good deal. We'll put Ray back on hold. Interesting concept, because obviously it implies this notion of there needs to be an element of consciousness there for a true, say, homicide or premeditated murder, or maybe not even premeditated murder to have taken place. 8:59 news, traffic, weather, all that. Be right back in just a minute.
Huh. All right, Facebook, let me ask this, man. I might come back with some of this, although it's going to be controversial. Nah, it won't be controversial. At what point do we get to the statistical comparison of, is there as much of a problem with white supremacist terrorists as there is with Islamic terrorists, in this country in particular? I'm not saying we're there yet. I'm just saying there is some threshold account to where we start saying that when Sam Harris comes on Bill Maher's show and says Islamophobia is a made-up thing, it is okay to, statistically speaking, it is okay to be somewhat frightened by the philosophy, the religion, and the ideology of Islam, because it bears itself out in very violent things. Whereas a couple years ago, white supremacy was just something you laughed about because it's a bunch of skinheads hanging out in some mold-infested barn somewhere, hooking up with their sisters or who knows. It's become a little bit of a different thing now. Christian Mosque, Christchurch Mosque, Tree of Life Synagogue, Mother Emanuel AME Church, Oak Creek Sikh Temple, Overland Park Jewish Center, Islamic Center, Quebec City. All attacks alleging white supremacy. Now, with that being said, there were 10 Islamist terrorist attacks on January 1st, 2019 alone. So the numbers are still staggering for the other side, but is there a point where we need to start having a conversation of, I'm not making a point here, believe me, I'm just asking the question. Do we need to start stamping down white supremacy? Either way, taking a quick break, be right back. I'll leave you all with this.
Thank you so much for coming in. It stinks. It's on a day like today. It just stinks. 49 people killed, massacred while they were praying in mosques in an apparent anti-Muslim, anti-immigrant attack. Your reaction?
Yeah, it's disgusting. I mean, anytime somebody of faith is targeted for any reason, really anytime anybody's targeted innocent for any reason, it's disgusting. To see this is especially disgusting. I am praying for these people, and I know when I say thoughts and prayers are with these folks, I mean it. I mean that this is the time where we need the God of the universe to step in and to change people's hearts. Because for somebody to wake up, decide to grab a bunch of guns, decide to murder innocent people, even if they're a different religion, to me is just the pure epitome of disgusting evil.
You asked for God to change people's hearts.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Does God need to change people's language? And I ask you that because this killer, apparently in a screed, some people call it a manifesto, said he is a supporter of President Trump as a symbol of white identity. Why would anyone see the president as a symbol of white identity?
I think God needs to change people's hearts, and I beg he does. He needs to change their language, but you cannot put this on President Trump.
I'm not putting it on President Trump. There's one man who pulled the trigger here, okay?
Yeah.
The person who is giving a sign of allegiance to President Trump is the killer here. He calls him a symbol of white identity.
Yeah.
The language he uses in this manifesto is all about invaders. It's all about invaders, which is similar language to the killer at the synagogue in Pittsburgh. It's also language that President Trump used in a campaign ad before the midterm election. The word invader means something to white supremacists around the world. Why?
So I think, again, to make the connection of a president saying, I'm concerned, for instance, with illegal immigration.
He says invaders.
Hold on. But to say that, and then to go to a guy that's willing to kill 50 people, he may make a connection and say, President Trump's my idol. That doesn't put it on President Trump. I don't know what a sick man that would decide to kill 49 people innocently was thinking. I don't want to have any idea, frankly, what was in his mind. But what I know is this. It cannot be connected. We cannot sit here and say, what is it that President Trump is doing that's somehow triggering these people? This is an evil man that made a decision to murder 49 people, and that is on him and, frankly, the evil of his heart.
If this monster is hearing something in the word invader, and the president is using the word invader, can the president really not do anything?
Well, I think, look, the president can come out and reaffirm, as he did in his statement, and as we'll see on Twitter, where he's like, this is disgusting, wrong. He can say it in his verbal language. But for somebody to be triggered to evil and put it in some manifesto, and then the president says things like, look, I don't agree with all the president's language on immigration. I want to be clear about that.
Do you agree with the invasion language?
No, I don't think it's an invasion. I think there are things when it comes to drug cartels and human...
And you've just been at the border, and I know, and I've heard you talk about that. I haven't ever heard you use the word invader there. And I'm just telling you what these people are seeing.
Yeah.
And he's using the word, I mean, we're not showing this manifesto, but the title of it is The Great Replacement.
Yeah.
Where do we hear replacement? I heard it in Charlottesville, when those white supremacists were chanting, Jews will not replace us.
Yeah.
People that the president called very fine people. You know, Twitter is everywhere. Television's everywhere. People hear this. And if you're a monster and you hear the president of the United States say that, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, so I'm not defending all of the president's language on this stuff. What I am saying, though, is if you look back to the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews were killed, and Hitler basically brought a whole group of people into evil thinking to do what they did, that was way before President Trump. This hate for people, whether it's a religion or whether it's race, has existed since the beginning of humanity. This person, this disgusting animal, is evil. And if President Trump's language triggered him, that wasn't intentional. It wasn't President Trump triggering. It was just saying, though, this is a disgusting person that frankly deserves, I think, to die. I'm not sure what it...
All right, we got a shooting in the Netherlands now. This is 2 minutes ago, apparently. Someone tell me how to pronounce this. Hang on. Utrecht? 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 Load! Load, you! You will load. No! No, we're coming back in. I don't know how to pronounce the city. I'll just say... What? Stop it. I'll just say Netherlands. That'll work for now.
Utrecht. Utrecht.
Okay, that's easy enough.
Utrecht.
One dead in Utrecht, several injured in suspected terror attack as gunman opens fire on tram in Netherlands. Launched a manhunt today after one person was killed and several others injured in suspected terror attack in Central City, Utrecht. All right. Right.
.08 in the morning. Welcome back to Real News, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get through the housekeeping stuff here first. Get off my screen. Dude, I get you have to pay for... I get it. No one's buying your publications. You have to pay with ads, but just give me... Come on, man. Whatever. Here's the housekeeping stuff. Broadcasting live from the FMT Insurance Studios. Crown Plaza call number. All three lines are tied up right now, so you may have to hold up for a minute, but windows open back up. The numbers are 865-888-TALK. That's 865-888-8255 if you have an opinion on anything we're talking about today. Don't forget about the AM 760 if you so happen to be listening on the 92.3 FM and drive out of our range somewhere. My favorite way to listen to the program, however, is just get our app, Talk Radio 92.3 Knoxville, Talk Radio 923 Knoxville. All those words together. Usually the first and only thing that will come up. Yes, I realize the pager unresponsive. Yeah, well, exactly. Just wait for a second. Goodness. All right, fine. I'll reload them. And Patreon, patreon.com/realnewsradio, patreon.com/realnewsradio. I'm probably about a day or two away from getting approval from Apple to send this podcast out on iTunes and Stitcher and all the others as well. So we're getting that going. We got an Instagram now. YouTube's up and running. We're doing the multifaceted thing here, trying to make this Real News program a thing. It's actually kind of interesting. I started the Instagram account by myself on Saturday, just, I don't know, on a whim. And what do we have, like 22 followers now or something like that? I don't know who's following. I think most of them might be the twerking girls. So don't take those numbers as anything too glamorous, but whatever. I don't know how Instagram works, so I don't follow anybody back. What else am I forgetting? I think that's most of it. Yeah, we got a Twitter account, Facebook. Right, Facebook, Real News Radio. In your Facebook search bar, loving reacting with the comments there. We have a slew of comments going down currently. And the Facebook is the cool kids table to get the stuff off air. Let me see if I can get this article pulled back up. It's going to mess with me, isn't it? Yep. Give me 2 seconds. I know this is terrible to do it properly here. Richard Esparza, producer, one of the producers for the show, books a lot of our fantastic guests. We actually have Richard. If you're still listening, buddy, I'm pretty sure tomorrow, is that right? Colonel Tony Schaefer's on the program as well. Really going to get into a lot of this here with him. Well, internet, I love you, but I hate you sometimes too. Anyways, there has been this story was updated 4 minutes ago now. There's been a shooting on a tram in Utrecht. That's in the Netherlands. One individual is dead. I'd give you more updates, man, if this page would load for me. But Richard just sent this to me. I believe one dead, several others injured right now, and he gives me a thumbs up for I presume for Colonel Tony Schaefer on tomorrow. Yeah, this page won't load. I'll load it up here again in a second. But either way, we're going to update some of that right now. Shootings across the world, one in the Netherlands right now. With that being said, it'll bring us back into Ray's conversation, talking about murder and natural science. And Ray, I don't want to put words in your mouth here, man, but it was an interesting topic to bring up because I think every single time we're talking about one of these shootings, regardless of the motivating factor on the surface being, I don't know, if we're talking 120 Christians being slaughtered in the streets, in 3 weeks. And I was just talking to Roz Fair, asking, so is it multiple shooters in central Nigeria? Well, they're using bombs, they're using cars, they're using guns. I mean, they're taking people out literally in the middle of these dirt streets and hacking their heads off with machetes. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't make mainstream news because that's fairly commonplace. It is not commonplace for this thing to happen in New Zealand. But the point I think you're making, too, is regardless of it being, I don't know, motivated by some type of white pride or white supremacy, or if it's being motivated by some type of religious ideology for Muslims slaughtering Christians because they believe their religion calls for it or something to that effect. What you're saying is that at a surface level, there's something more going on. There's a mental derangement going on. There's a mental illness going on, and murder and natural science. Now, what we left off with is calls a down a gazelle murder. However, we do call another human being killing another human being murder.
Right. When we're talking about murder, that's a human construct. That's not found naturally on this planet. And using the lion for a gazelle is really not spot on. Let's take that pride of lions, and they make the conscious thought to go through the forest this time instead of taking the grass around. And through their path, through the forest, they end up unawareingly within a troop of gorillas. Those gorillas will take down those lions immediately. Not on the fact that it's a law to do so, not on the fact that it's their right to do it, on the basic fact that those lions present a threat. And when that threat takes over, they start making the conscious decisions to kill all of them. Now, if we're going to put that into human perspective, we're going to have to understand the mental conscious of these killers, because in nature, it's not murder. And we can't go around saying that this news deserves press release because it's murder, but this killing over here doesn't. If any human wants to believe that if they don't see Christians being persecuted, that it's not happening, they are sadly mistaken. They're completely out of touch with the world, because these type of killings go on because of a fear within them. And you're going to take these humans and try to apply law to them. To them, it's not natural. It has nothing to do with your society. It is the person itself that is making the conscious decision to neutralize a threat. It's not for food. It's not for dominance. They're not trying to dominate. I mean, obviously, those people were caught and their lives are ruined under the law. But in nature, they would have been left to go on.
Yeah, no, sure. I mean, you know, in the vast majority of the time, I would presume, and I by no means have any idea what I'm talking about here, but I would presume that the vast majority of the time, animals killing animals is for a sense of necessity, in the sense of sustenance, in the sense of, hey, you need to die so I can survive type thing, right? Now, I will say there are certain animal species in particular. I want to say it's chimpanzees. Again, don't quote me, but certain species in particular will either cannibalize their own or will cannibalize other surrounding tribes, I suppose, to show some sense of dominance, right? I know some monkey species do this, or ape species do this as well. Again, like you said, to establish dominance in that particular area. But you know, this element of there being a necessity of consciousness to call it a murder. Now you wouldn't say that a gorilla that has a gradient scale of consciousness. We've said this on the show before, but that a gorilla walks. They've done these studies in the wild captivity to a few species that can walk up to a mirror when they put a blue sticker on someone's forehead. If you put a blue sticker on a puma's forehead, it's not eventually going to try and scratch it off its forehead. It's going to try and fight the other animal in the reflection, right? Well, certain great ape species can walk up to this mirror, and after several days or several weeks or several months, I don't know what the time is, eventually they will recognize, oh, that's me in that mirror, right? It's a bit of this I think therefore I am type thing. I recognize that I am existing on this earth outside of myself, a sense of consciousness. They call it a gradient scale of consciousness. Eventually that great ape will walk up to the mirror and try and start prying that blue thing off his forehead, because he realizes that's not another ape in that mirror. That's a version of me. It's an image of me. Now, you're not saying that ape could then have the same sense of culpability that a human being could have with murder, are you?
Absolutely not, because it's a construct. Apes don't construct philosophy. Live today. They couldn't care any more about the future. They live today by what they know in the past. And when themselves in the mirror, it depends on their environmental pattern. An ape that was beaten up by other apes, when they see that ape in the mirror, it's either going to be the first thing is going to neutralize the threat or run. It's fight or flight.
Let me ask you this then, Ray. On the way out here, because we only have about a minute left before Rod's trying to hit me on this break. Matt's saying in Facebook, where did this go? Shooter was Jewish. Again, the shooter was Jewish. People don't identify as white. Now, the mainstream coverage that you're getting here is that this was purely motivated by a sense of white supremacy, purely motivated by a sense of sort of the loss of identity for Caucasians, either in Europe or New Zealand, or I don't know if this guy, was he Australian or what? I'm not sure what he was. I haven't looked into it too much, to be frank. I just don't care about it, honestly. But what do you think about the motivating factor of what this guy did? Do you find any sort of validity in the idea that it was, yes, purely motivated by white supremacy. And let me ask you a two-part question here. Secondly, what do you do with that then? Let's say that is true. What do you do with that then? Is it a whataboutism to start comparing? Well, yes, it's terribly tragic that 50 Muslims died in New Zealand, but what do we do with 120 Christians that died in central Nigeria over the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, that is a two-part answer right there. What you do with that person is you try to understand. And the DSM is well on its way of trying to categorize these things so we could understand what is the trigger. White supremacy, maybe. Could it be that there's a past conflict that that person had with a Muslim? It could have been. It's just, there could be national pride there. We don't know that there's an Australian movement to make Australia a world power. And that's what they want to do by eradicating these groups of people. But then you got the other part that, I'm going to follow the crowd. I'm going to do what everybody else does. And I really like what this person does, like they did in Las Vegas. And he takes that, and this is what the show tries to not do, is to promote it, to put it into the news. And this is where the DSM, I believe, horribly fails. They can't predict it. And according to natural science, predictability is part of it. So it's completely failing on the natural side to look at it as murder. We got to look at it as that there's a cause behind it because this person has an environmental connection to it, or this person has something wired wrong inside there and likes to be the king cat, the king of the forest, so to speak. So he becomes this popular 15 minutes of fame, and that's something that's purely human. It's not found in nature. And to get to that grasp of intellect, that somebody is on that level, that I'm going to do it because somebody else did it, is this is just brand new stuff that is happening, I believe, because of technology, Mr. Henry. All of this artificial intelligence is bringing us to a level of knowledge that we're able to see ourselves in the mirror, and instead of punching the mirror, we will try to take that blue dot off of our forehead.
I hear you.
And it's just something that society lives through its whole life, these killings, until the group can come together and find a social solution, which is a legal solution, then we can do it. If you look at the KGB, Mr. Henry, what they did was not murder.
Well, they wouldn't call it. No, I hear what you're saying, at least within the context of what they were doing, certainly. Any more than Nazis would consider the concentration camps and the gas chambers, they wouldn't consider that murder. I hear what you're saying there. It obviously is. You're saying clearly it is, but you're saying they would not rationalize that as murder. But yeah, absolutely not. They would take that those people are a threat to them. That these humans have picked out those people as a threat. If you look at some of these other leaders, some of them, a lot of local, recent ones in Africa, where they take that, I'm going to go and kill somebody because so-and-so killed somebody. Another king someplace killed somebody and took over the land, so I'm going to go ahead and start killing these people off, and I will become the ruler of this land. But if you succumb to the depths of your own depravity, man, there are no limits to what you can justify, right? When you're really swimming in the deep end of your own delusion, bro, any action seems to be justified. But Ray, buddy, we always appreciate hearing from you, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Great show, Mr. Henry. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Hey, there goes Ray. I'm going to get to Eddie after this break. Let me say this on the way out, Roz. I've already pushed it too long in this break. Matt brought this up on Facebook, and it's actually been something that's been bugging me over the weekend, too. Here's the headline of what's been bugging me. Christchurch shooting. One man faces murder charges. What happened to the other 3 that were arrested, though? Kind of interesting, right? 4 people arrested. 3 of them, I'll let you know after the break what happened to those other 3, because initially there were 4 people that had planned and orchestrated this entire thing. Now they're saying it's a lone attack. I don't know. 9:22 now. Be right back.
Oh, I need a chiropractor. Real this. Someone come crack my back. Yes. That's awesome. I'm looking at this picture right now of the shooter with just a bloody face because the cops beat his face in. Beat that trash. Matt, did you, you don't have to out yourself on Facebook if you don't want to. Did you ever actually watch the video of the attack? Again, one more time, I strongly suggest that nobody watch this unless you've committed your calling to fighting this particular kind of evil. Do not watch this thing, but Dr. Self in Fountain City. Here's what they say happened to the other three. Yeah, that's true too, Aaron. The arsenal that this guy had in his car, I'm telling you, is staggering. One woman, two other men were also arrested and held in custody in relation to the attacks. Now, NZ Herald reported this initially. The woman has been released without charge. The man who was in a vehicle with the woman has been charged with firearms offenses and will appear in Christchurch District Court on Monday. An 18-year-old man who is not connected to the couple will also appear in Christchurch District Court on Monday for possessing a firearm. Police say they do not believe either men were involved in the attacks. Let's put this in context. In Tennessee, for example, I would venture to say, and tell me if I'm wrong, in Tennessee, I'm trying to see this through the eyes of media, through the eyes of anybody that's reading this for the first time. In Tennessee, for example, if you just took a random 500 people walking around the street right now, I'm pretty sure you could find at least a few of them, because I know at least a few people that walk around with guns, walk around concealed carry right now without a permit to do so. They're just people that so happen to believe in constitutional carry and say screw the government otherwise. I don't know if New Zealanders feel the same way, because that's what would have to be happening if you just randomly found, 3 other individuals with firearms possession charges? $9:25 in the morning. Welcome back to Real News, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me pose this question real quick before I go to Eddie's call. He's been sitting on there for, goodness gracious, 33 minutes. Thanks, Eddie. Real quick question before we go out, and this plays into the headline here. Christchurch shooting, 1 man faces charges. What happened to the other 3 arrested? I'm going to connect these dots, but you're going to have to give me probably a full break segment to connect these dots for you, so just bear with me. In Tennessee, what do you think the likelihood is if I were a police officer right now and in some strange alternate universe where I'm part of the priest class and I could just randomly select 500 people off the street of Knoxville right now and ask them to show me everything that's on their person? Let's say I had some x-ray glasses. I don't know. Follow the hypothetical, okay? I had some x-ray glasses. What do you think the likelihood is of me finding, I don't know, let's say 3, 4, 5 individuals that are concealed carry right now on the streets of Knoxville without a permit to do so? I'd say it's pretty likely if I took 500 people, I could find at least 5 people that are, because I know at least 2 people that, I'm not going to tell you who they are, but I know at least 2 people that carry right now without a permit because they just believe in the principle of constitutional carry, even though Tennessee doesn't yet. Now, I don't know if New Zealanders feel that exact same way. I'll make sense of all that here in just a second. Before we do, though, let's go to Eddie. He's been hanging on for quite some time. Thanks for hanging on there, sir. I appreciate that. All subheading says here is McCain. Go pretty much anywhere with this, but what's on your mind?
Hey, 2 things, and I think everybody needs to take the news of the weekend and boil it down to 2 things. Hey, can you hear me first of all?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. The first thing is that the press and the Democrats are going to use both of these things to try to attack the president. Number one is you'll hear the press on a scale not thought of before saying that the New Zealand craziness and carnage. Let's use that as the press and the Democrats to attack the president as a white racist supremacist that wants to kill people.
Yeah,
okay?
Alexander
He's responsible for that.
Alexander Cortez is already blaming the NRA, but the NRA, the national part of the NRA is specific to America, not
Right.
New Zealand. But go ahead, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course I scan the morning liberal media, and they're already doing it like crazy. Trump is a white supremacist racist that approves of and is the cause of the killing and the carnage of a maniac in New Zealand. But I think most people can see through that. But they're going to play this one hard, okay? The second one is the press will use the fact that John McCain died of a natural illness, terrible illness. They're going to use his death to exploit the idea that Trump's criticism of him for promoting the dossier to slant the election is scurrilous. That's terrible. McCain is an American who served well, had a great life, and then he got sick and died. It's okay to criticize him, although he died, or it's okay to criticize him if he was using the fake dossier to try to damage the president prior to the election, and to limit his chance to be elected. But no, we gotta stand back and say, poor John McCain. I'm sorry that he died, but he had a full life, served honorably, but he did get sick and die.
Yeah,
that doesn't excuse him from acting terribly by promoting and paying for and using his influence to damage the electoral possibilities of a candidate with fake information.
Yeah, and just because you're a war hero doesn't give you carte blanche immunity from anything else terrible that you've done in your life. It's absurd.
Absolutely, absolutely. And he acted badly. He promoted a piece of slanderous, just bunk research paid for by the opposing candidate. And, he acted badly, and he put money into it and tried to influence the election. It was a bad thing to do, and he's not above criticism because he got sick and died. So people need, the next 4 or 5 days, you're going to hear both of these fake things and these terrible slanders against Trump, as he's responsible for the carnage of some maniac in New Zealand killing people, and that he's terrible because he criticized John McCain for acting badly and acting slanderously in the election with lies and malintention. And so people need to see through that. McCain's not above criticism, and he acted badly before he died.
Yeah, no, exactly. And there was some other information coming out today, too. I wanted to pull this up, and I was actually going to brief it, but then I thought to myself, no, I don't need to rehash this. Everybody should already know this now. Maybe they don't. It was information acknowledging that McCain met on several occasions, dozens upon dozens of occasions, with the people from Fusion GPS. Glenn Simpson, like on down, or his wife, all those folks. And I thought to myself, all right, I could bring that up to prove the point, but if I have to spend one more segment proving the point that McCain started this dossier, I'm going to lose my ever-loving mind, man. I mean, it should be accepted fact now at this point. And again, nothing to tarnish his reputation of what he did with the war hero or how he served this country or the fact that he, passed through cancer. Nothing. It has nothing to do with that. It just has to do with the guy started the dossier. He sold it off to HRC. This stuff is very, very well documented right now. The entire thing was fabricated from point one. I just want to get that information out there, whether it's McCain or otherwise, just to put it to move on with other more important issues.
And if people need to listen, they really need to filter this, because the press is going to attack in a huge scale, because they haven't yet learned that none of this fake stuff is going to go, but people don't need to succumb to it. McCain acted badly, and the press and the Democrats are exploiting it. And then the crazy man in New Zealand butchered a bunch of people for some deranged motive, and they're going to try to tell the world that Trump's responsible. Don't buy it. Don't listen to it. It's destructive. And keep it up, guys. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it, Eddie. We'll talk to Eddie soon. Hey, Rod's getting this break set up here right now. I think what I want to come back with, I have a multitude of articles that I could get to here, but we have 2 segments left. We may carry on with the updates from the New Zealand shooting. Hey, before we go out here, too, let me update you. I finally got a headline that would work. 1 fear dead in Dutch tram shooting and possible terrorist attack. This was updated about 17 minutes ago now. 1 fear dead in Dutch tram shooting and possible terrorist attack, authorities say. Let's see here. I want to say the Daily Caller or somebody else reported that there is 1 confirmed dead now, but again, this is Reuters. 1 person was feared dead and several suffered gunshot wounds on Monday in a tram in the central Dutch city of Utrecht. if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and a hunt was underway for the gunman in an incident authorities said appeared to be a terrorist attack. I don't know what that means. Every single country has a different version of what terrorist attack means. Dutch broadcaster NOS said police had surrounded a building where the suspected gunman was believed to be holed up. There's no immediate word on who the gunman was or the precise number of or the identity of victims. Let's see here. Authorities raised the terrorism threat to its highest level in that Providence schools were told were shut down, shut their doors, right? Yada, yada. Security was also stepped up at mosques. Okay. So is it a white supremacist shooter? Give me motivation. Give me what's going on here. Several shots were fired in a tram and several people were injured. Helicopters are at the scene. No arrests have been made. Again, 17 minutes ago, local broadcaster. That's not telling me anything. Yes, witness seen a woman lying on the ground at some kind of a confrontation. Several men ran away from the scene. All right, maybe I shouldn't make too big of a deal of this yet. But this is what they said. Prime Minister convened crisis talks saying he was deeply concerned about the incident, which came 3 days after the lone gunman. See, everyone's labeling this guy now as a lone gunman. This is a Reuters article talking about a shooting taking place in Netherlands, and they brought up the situation of Prime Minister of the Netherlands convened crisis talks saying he was deeply concerned about the incident, which came 3 days after a lone gunman killed 50 people shooting at 2 mosques in the city of Christchurch, New Zealand. Lone gunman. All right, so what happened to the other 3 then? Because over the weekend, I was still under the assumption that there was going to be more people that were brought in on these charges. Because again, here's the headline. Christchurch shootings. 1 man faces murder charges. What happened to the other 3 arrested? There was initially 4 people arrested for this. I'm not sure what happened to those other 4. Did they just... And here's the other thing, too. I'll explain all this when I get back. This is just confusing. This is really confusing me. Whatever. Let me pause there. It's 9:34. We're already late for this break. I'll hit this break, come back. I'll explain why I'm confused. Be right back.
You see what I'm saying, Facebook? If they said that they were arrested and they had nothing to do with the shootings, how were they arrested in the first place? For what particular reason? What reasonable suspicion or probable cause did those officers have to arrest those 3 individuals, as opposed to every other random person walking on the street? You following me? Or seemingly connected to it to begin with. Canvass that area to just arbitrarily arrest these 3 people. Did they literally arrest every single person that was at all in the within immediacy or the surrounding of that area and just filter down? Okay, he doesn't have a gun. He doesn't have a gun. He doesn't have a gun. He does. Hold on to him. More likely, it's much more likely that these 3 people they arrested, there was some reasonable suspicion or probable cause. I know there's American legal terms. Their point being, there was some justification to arrest those people as opposed to everyone else that was around there. If that justification is that they then found firearms on them, you know what I'm saying? You follow me here? Just something's not adding up. All right, so this is what this article is saying. 1 woman, 2 men, also arrested, held in custody. In relation to the attacks, this was initially reported by NZ Herald. The woman, however, has been released without charge. The man who was in the woman's vehicle has been charged with firearms offenses. An 18-year-old, who they say is not connected to the couple, is also going to appear in court for possessing a firearm. How do you get that? How do you randomly find two people that you can charge with firearms violations during a mass shooting? I mean, are you following me? Am I losing my mind here? What do I do as a police officer if a mass shooting is going on and I suspect that there's other people involved? I mean, I would have to pull every single person off the street and search their body or their car or whatever else. Or I suspect that somebody is connected to these crimes. I search their car and then I find a gun in the car. It's only one of those two things, right? I don't know. They found bags on other shoes as well. Hey, who asked about that? Michael, are you still in here? Yeah, Michael, I just put that message in the chat just so you can check it later on. So I tagged your name if you're not in here right now. If you are in here, Michael, though, again, I would strongly suggest to anybody that is not already in this world, do not watch this one video of that shooting. If you've seen other videos of incidents like this before, I can tell you, never before have I seen one done with a first-person GoPro camera, and never before have I seen one with the level of depravity that's involved in these incidents. Now, I know the way I know answers in Vegas, yeah, clearly. I mean, there's been video of other shootings before, but I'm telling you, bro, I mean, the sense that this guy went about slaughtering other human beings was... I don't know how a person gets themselves to see another human being as nothing more than just an animal, right? I mean, literally. That's not even the best way to put it. It's not the best way to put it. It's not seeing another human being as an animal. It's seeing another human being as a virus, as a scourge upon this world. Because even your average human being would have some sympathy for animal existence. Even your average human being hunting deer, for example, and it's bleeding out. Okay, what do? You put it out of its misery, right? Even your average hunter would say, don't cause needless suffering. This video, though, I'm telling you, I mean, I can describe some of the parts for you, but I'm telling you, man, just, if you're not ready for it, don't do it. This video, first-person footage view of, put simply, the worst sense of evil that has ever existed on this planet. Yeah, yes, it is. It's just evil incarnate. That's exactly what it is. You are watching evil incarnate. The things he was saying, the way he was moving, the proficiency with which he was reloading and aiming. I mean, I don't know. It's just beyond, I don't know. 9. I feel like it's 9:42 in the morning. Because it is. Yeah. I was talking with the video of the shooter, and again,
recognizing and fighting that sense of evil. It is the most depraved act I've ever seen in my life. And I was telling Facebook, I do not know how, this is how I started saying it, and then I quickly caught myself. I said, I don't know how you can get yourself to see another human being as nothing more than an animal. And then I stopped and I said, that's not even what it is. That's not even what it is with this guy. This guy saw those individuals praying, in the middle of praying. An aspect that Alexandria Cortez says that doesn't mean anything at all. I don't know how you, Alexandria Cortez, are going to answer for your bigoted statement to the people that were in the middle of actually praying and were gunned down as if their existence was inconsequential. But it wasn't even that this guy didn't recognize them as human beings. It wasn't even that he saw them as animals. That's not it. And I was telling Facebook, because even your average deer hunter, I've never hunted deer, so I don't know, but even your average hunter would say there's no need to cause needless suffering in an animal. If you hit an animal and it's sitting there bleeding out or whatever else, what do? You put it out of its misery, I suppose. I don't know, some deer hunter tell me I'm wrong. That's what I've seen in movies anyways, maybe it's accurate. This guy, though, I'm telling y'all, man, he didn't see these people as animals. He saw them as a virus, as a scourge upon the existence of this world. It was evil incarnate. I know y'all probably wouldn't follow me on this. At least half the audience wouldn't follow me on this. But I swear to y'all, there had to be a sense of possession going on. There had to be. There had to be. At that point, I no longer believe a human being is looking through his own eyes anymore. He's looking through a tainted lens, a lens that has been taken from him. Do you know what I'm saying? Here's the report that I was on before, and I'm trying to figure this out. Let me just read this through, and then I'll pose the question one more time to the Real News audience. Help me make sense of this. 865-888-TALK, 865-888-8255. Here's the headline. Christchurch shooting. One man faces murder charges. What happened to the other three arrested? While 4 people were arrested in relation to the Christchurch mosque massacres, only one man, then they named this guy's name, something I will never do. We have 10 people on Facebook right now. If you're one of the new people on Facebook, if you're listening for the first time, the policy with Real News, and I'm thinking about expanding this policy to much more than just names. The policy with Real News is I will never once let my platform be used to give these pieces of subhuman garbage trash people yet one more avenue that they can spread their notoriety with. I will not let you live through the annals of history through my program. No, sir. No, sir. Not as long as I still have air in these lungs and a microphone in front of my voice. I will never name your... If I slip up, fine. I will never purposely name your name on my airwaves, even if... I don't care if there's 10 people listening or 1 person listening, 10,000 or 100,000 or 100 million people listening. Doesn't matter. You're not going to get that notoriety on my show. Yes, everybody else is going to do that for you, but I don't... Look, one thing I would love to do as a legislator, I know this would never happen. It would never happen because there's crazy Fourth Amendment implications and First Amendment implications and First Amendment violations. Part of me wants to say I don't care, though. I would love to see a legislator get up there and say, you know what? I'm going to ban media outlets from their ability to name these shooters. Do you know what I'm saying? I would actually support, and I know this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy, but I would support a constitutional amendment if you are labeled, categorized, and convicted of a mass shooting, you are not allowed to name that person's name. I would vote for that bill. That's how strongly I feel about this. In spite of how much of a constitutionalist I am, and I tell you all this all the time, I'm a card-carrying constitutionalist conservative. Not even a libertarian anymore, just a straight-up constitutionalist. As much as I know what the First Amendment means and the history behind it, I would support a piece of legislation that says you are going to jail, man, if you say these people's names. That's how much I hate these people. Because I know their motivating factor is specifically to get their name on every publication in the world. Anyways, moving on. This article wants to know what happened to the other 3 people that were charged. And why were they suspects? Here's what happened, allegedly. Yeah, okay, good. Michael says call them a demon. Pure and simple. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Honestly, though, Michael, even call him a demon seems... like somewhat of a compliment. God. This article says 1 woman and 2 other men were also arrested and held in custody, quote, in relation to the attacks. Now, this is not this article reporting on it. That was a quote from the initial reporting from the NZ Herald. I suppose that's the New Zealand Herald. Now, the woman that was arrested was released without charge. The man who was in the woman's vehicle, at the time of the shooting, he was arrested and he was charged with firearms offenses and will appear in Christchurch District Court on Monday. There was also another 18-year-old man who was not connected to the couple. He will also appear Christchurch District Court on Monday for possessing a firearm. Police say they do not believe either men were involved in the attacks. But here's what perplexes me a little bit, and this is why I asked the question before of what happens in East Tennessee. I know a couple people personally that conceal carry without a permit just because they believe so strongly in the principle behind constitutional carry. So if you were to take 500 people right now, if I'm part of the priest class in some, alternate universe somewhere, some multiverse theory, and I could just randomly select 500 people off the street because, I don't know, maybe they have chips in their brains and they can't refuse. And I said, show me everything you have on your person right now. I'm pretty sure I could find at least a few, maybe 4 or 5, maybe even more, of 500 people in Knoxville streets right now that are carrying without a permit to do so. Now, whether my feelings of whether they should be able to do that or not is inconsequential. What I'm saying right now is, though, I don't know if that same principle applies in New Zealand. And whether it does or doesn't, it still begs the question of, bro, what reasonable suspicion or probable cause did these police officers have to arrest these specific individuals? It's only one of two things. They either had probable cause to arrest these specific individuals and found firearms on them during the time that a mass shooting was taking place, or they profiled every single person that was on the street at all in the vicinity of the shooting, however many dozens or hundreds of people, and said, you, all 200 of you, show me what's on your person right now, and they so happen to fall on these 3 people. Which one's more likely? Probably a former of those two. 9:49, hit this break, I'll bring it back with that.
One of us ain't not like the other. Yeah, I'd say you're right about that, Ray. Doesn't mean I'm not going to try. Yeah, you're never going to defeat the enemy. You're never going to defeat the real enemy with legislation, that's for sure. You can make it so that the real enemy, that you still have the opportunity to do so, though, right? Matt, what do you mean they've been arrested for videos? Like spreading the original video around, or videos of other stuff that was happening at the time? I don't know what you mean by videos. Hey, Matt, for what it's worth, I think you and I were right, by the way, about remember how they initially said they heard 50 shotgun fires? I think he had 2 ARs on him. Gunman had 5 firearms, including 2 semi-automatic weapons. From the video, he comes in with a shotgun, pulls off, I want to say 5, if not 7, shots from the shotgun, and immediately discards that gun. Actually, because there was another individual that picked that gun up later and threw it through his windshield. Picked up that shotgun, I mean. But the shotgun were the initial blasts. He got rid of that, and the rest of them were done with ARs.
Hey, welcome back to Real News, ladies and gentlemen. I had so many other stories I was needing to get to today. It's because the video shows stuff and they don't want the public to see. Oh, okay, yeah. Matt was saying on Facebook that even some people in New Zealand now have been arrested for spreading around other videos. Not the initial video of the shooter himself, just videos that people were taking with their cell phones. Dude, everybody and their mother has a cell phone right now. Yeah, Matt says any of the they're going into people's computers and deleting them. The idea being that there's some stuff that it may not, that the New Zealand government may not want the people to see. Here's the headline from the BBC. Christchurch shootings attacker was the man charged for Friday's twin mosque attacks in New Zealand city of Christchurch is believed to have acted alone. Three others arrested afterwards are not believed to have been involved. And look, it's probably true that they were not involved. I'm trying to make sense of. It just seems very odd that they were arrested under the circumstances that they were. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not claiming right now, because I'm Mr. Objective, Mr. Henry. I'm not claiming that necessarily implies or even means that they were involved. All I'm saying is it's really, really odd that when a mass shooting is going on, you so happen to stumble across three other individuals with firearms-related charges in New Zealand, of all places. Do you get what I'm saying, Ross?
My question to you, instead of having it off air, why don't I just ask it on air? Do you think Soros funded this?
You mean like some stage thing? I don't know.
Oh, it's absolutely orchestrated.
See, but here's the thing, though, is I'm not sure why. If
guys just didn't feel the urge to go and do this. You get what I'm saying? This is to push gun control because they have a plan in place, and this is part of their plan. And they have to push gun control.
Well, with that being said, that's what I was going to go on to before I get to Stippy's call right here. Where's that headline? There we go. New Zealand welcomes gun control after mosque massacres, saying there will be no opposition. That's coming from New Zealand Prime Minister saying there will be no opposition. New Zealand's Prime Minister, said in cabinet meeting that said to her cabinet would discuss issues including gun policy reform on Monday, repeating the words there would be changes to our gun laws. And apparently there would be no opposition at all, saying, I don't care if you oppose me or not, we're changing our gun laws. There would be no opposition to it. There's no movement in New Zealand for that. Our media and politics are more left-wing. Yeah, saying Australia virtual ban on private ownership of semi-automatic rifles and government-funded gun buyback cut the size of the country's civilian arsenal almost by a third. The ban followed a 96 massacre where a lone gunman used an assault rifle to kill 35 people.
I just don't find it a coincidence.
No, I hear you. Well, first of all, let me say one thing about the Australia thing, too. You got to look up at the statistics here on what that Australia thing actually did. Okay, yeah, they haven't had as many gun-related crimes, but their other violent crimes have absolutely skyrocketed. People are not going to be stopping evil just because you don't allow them to be evil guns anymore. It's absurd.
Right.
It's an absolutely assinined notion.
Get a pencil and kill you with a pencil.
Yeah, like
matter?
John Wick did that. 3 people with a pencil. I want to go to Stimpy here, give him the last 3 minutes of the conversation. Let me just say one more time, though. Okay, I just want to make this point clear. It just seems very, very odd to me that you have a mass shooting going on in New Zealand. They find 3 other people and charge them with firearms crimes, okay? Now, the only way you can get that is one of 2 situations. Maybe there's a third that I'm not considering, but there's only 1 of 2 situations if I'm a police officer. The only way I can find 3 other people with firearms-related crimes at the time of a mass shooting going on is one of 2 things. First, I take a wide sampling of anybody else that's in the vicinity and just so happen to stumble across 3 other people. And maybe that's what happened. Maybe they arrested like dozens upon dozens upon dozens of people. Only 1 minute left? Oh, yeah, I may not be able to get to Stimpy then. Sorry. Stimpy, Roz has cut me early. I know you like to get your stuff out. It's not even going to do you justice, man. We're going to have to pick this up tomorrow. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so even if they arrested dozens upon dozens upon dozens of people, which they would have had to do, that's how they would have stumbled across 3 other people. But that also would have made headlines. Do you get what I'm saying? It also would have made headlines. I guarantee you somebody would hear a report somewhere saying 55 people have been arrested in relation to the shooting, and they're sifting their way through to see if any of them had related crimes. That's not what happened, clearly. First of all, that's not how police operate. Secondly, it's not what happened because there's no reporting on it. So likely what happened is the police used their own discretion, meaning some level of whatever New Zealand's legal code calls for reasonable suspicion or probable cause, to look at these 3 other individuals. And then so happened to find firearms from these 3 other individuals going on, and initially reported that they were connected with the shootings. Do you see why something's off here, y'all? I mean, is every random citizen...
Does it not bring back deja vu from the Las Vegas shooting?
Well, does every random citizen in New Zealand carry on them without a permit to do so? It's far more likely you could find someone in East Tennessee doing that. I don't know about New Zealand. We got to end the show, unfortunately, for today. 9:57. News, traffic, weather, all that next. And then stick around for Glenn Beck. We'll be back tomorrow doing it big.
I don't get it, Facebook. Oh. Yeah, that's true. Were they wearing gear when they were arrested? Because that would be freaking huge. Bro, if they were wearing any kind of gear at all when they were arrested, that's... Police did not believe that the 3 other people arrested, they said this in court today. Police did not believe that the other 3 people arrested were involved in the shooting, but the officer went on to say he could not be conclusive. I don't know, y'all. That feels too weird. Why arrest 3 different people with firearms charges? So what I'm supposed to believe then, and maybe this is true. Let me get my head around this. What I'm supposed to believe then is that at the exact same time that a mass shooting was taking place, in that exact same area, there just so happened to be 3 people that were violating New Zealand's gun laws by having guns and ammunition on their person at the time of a mass shooting. And I'm supposed to believe that the police just so happened to arrest those 3 individuals at the exact same time that stuff was going down. I'm just laying this out because that's, unless I'm wrong, that's the information that's been presented to me so far, right? 3 people violating gun laws while a mass shooting is taking place. Those 3 people happen to be in the vicinity of where the mass shooting is taking place. And the police officers, as opposed to everybody else in the area, whoever else was in that area, so happened to find these 3 people with guns on them. All right, so Las Vegas shooting, for example, right? How many were killed there? 48, 51. Country music concert. What percentage of that audience do you think was carrying at the time? 40? 60? Higher? It's country music fans, y'all. I wouldn't be surprised if at least 50% of that audience was strapped at the time. Probably legally so, because they're conservatives. Good Lord, 60% of them might have been NRA members, right? I didn't hear about a single other individual being arrested for gun-related violations. And it's likely that at a country music festival, you're going to find at least a couple, if not more than a handful of people that are violating gun laws at a country music concert. Frankly speaking, I don't think I've ever heard of a situation like this where someone was just arbitrarily arrested. I'm trying to think if there's literally anything that I'm missing here, because the explanation just doesn't make sense, man. Whatever. Maybe we'll pick it back up on Conspiracy Theory Thursdays. Anyways, y'all, I got a follow-up appointment for some stuff. Doing better, though, I think. Stuff should be good. Y'all the best. I love y'all, as always. I'm going to end it there. I'm not sure what we're doing tomorrow. See what breaks over the weekend. I might get into what I was really wanting to get into today. I had a whole thing I was going to go on there with kind communism and Marxist and whatever else, but we might do that. Who knows what we'll do. Either way, I love y'all. You're the best. You're the reason why I do this show. Look at the victims of the Vegas shooting, really dig into these events. You'll start finding discrepancies everywhere. I'm telling you, dude, Aaron, the thing that, the Vegas shooting in particular, the thing that really set me off about that is when maybe I'll ask Schaefer about this when he gets on tomorrow too. When Colonel Tony Schaefer came on the program and said that, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he says that he has never been more perplexed with the way that an intelligence community has handled an investigation than he was with the Las Vegas shooting. Colonel Schaefer is not by any means a conspiracy theorist. At all. At all. I mean, anything that he goes on that sounds like a conspiracy theory, he has more than enough documentation to prove to you. And more than enough documentation that he can't even show to you that would absolutely prove it to you. Equivocally, empirically prove it to you. Now, when a guy like that comes on this program and says, the intelligence community, the FBI, whoever else was involved with investigating that, did nothing. After the first day, they made their assessment. He says that never, ever, ever happens. So even Colonel Schaefer says, yeah, dude, there's some shady stuff going down in Las Vegas. I'd be interested to see what he thinks about this thing, too. Anyways, for real, though, I'm going to end it there. Y'all the best. Love y'all.